where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response. This
is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. SEC basketball tournament tips off today. Ian is here. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Absolutely. I mean, we got SEC basketball. We got rumor season in the NFL. We've got free agency in a week. So much to get to.
March, baby.
And normally, it is a good one. Normally, we start the show off on something local. It is a local sports talk show. Normally, we start off on the Titans or the Predators or an SEC story or something like that. But today, I have to start off on Lamar Jackson. I think you can call me triggered when it comes to all of this Lamar Jackson talk. And I am going to tell you right now, I'm not sure I necessarily have a dog in the fight, though I am rooting against Lamar because I think the whole thing is ridiculous. But as far as the Lamar Jackson Ravens situation is concerned, this is what it has become. I think the Ravens are a fair organization. A couple weeks ago, I had Derek on my SiriusXM show. And, of course, having played for the Ravens, we talked about Lamar Jackson's contract. And I asked Derek, I said, in your experience with Steve Bisciotti, the owner of the Ravens, what would you say his angle is in terms of how he deals with teams and players and things like that? And Derek said, my experience with the Ravens is that it is a fair organization, that they pay their players a fair amount, that they're not cheap, that they treat guys well, and so on and so forth. And the Ravens, for the most part, have the reputation for being a fair organization. And so what this has turned into is Deshaun Watson got the guaranteed contract from a stupid team that continuously makes stupid decisions every single year. And now Lamar Jackson demands that he gets paid exactly what Deshaun Watson got paid because he's better than Deshaun Watson. And he's not completely wrong about that. But here's the problem. This is never going to happen. It's not going to happen with the Ravens. It's not going to happen with the Commanders. It's not going to happen with the Raiders. It's not going to happen with the Falcons. It's not going to happen with anybody. And I'm going to tell you why. Because with most things, the only reason anybody does something that they don't want to do is simply because they have to. Ian, you've got two kids that are in like some sort of daycare, right?
Yes, that is correct.
You like paying for that daycare every day?
Not necessarily, no.
So why do you pay for daycare for your kids?
Well, somebody has to watch them.
Yeah, because you have to. That's why. That's why people do things they don't want to do. And the NFL has the ultimate trump card on its players in two separate forms. The first is the trump card of if there's a strike of the players, the NFL still gets paid by ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox. I don't understand how. I don't understand how they can have this billion-dollar product, not play it, and CBS still has to write the billion-dollar check. But that is an absolute huge chip at the bargaining table. That is the definition of the trump card. Because all that happens is, okay, you guys want to strike? Fine. We can't reach a CBA? Lockout? Fine. We'll still get our money anyways. So that's number one, and there's no way to beat that. And number two is the franchise tag. That is why that tag exists. It takes power away from the players. What LeBron James has done with the, I don't like it here anymore, I'm going to go somewhere else, you can't do that in the NFL. You're just not allowed. They'll franchise you and they'll franchise you. Now, there is a way around it. You have to play through it twice, and then for a quarterback, it's going to be worth so much money that they can't do it a third time. But the real reason why Lamar Jackson is going to lose this negotiation, this stalemate that feels like it's been going on for forever, honestly, I just want it to be over. I want to turn on the TV and not hear about Lamar every day. But the reason why Lamar Jackson's going to lose this, and if I were the Players Association and they are advising Lamar, or at least reportedly they're advising Lamar, The reason he's going to lose this is because he's not a good enough player. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens franchise can exist without Lamar Jackson. In fact, the Ravens have won 2 Super Bowls this century, and Lamar Jackson didn't quarterback either team. So the Baltimore Ravens, a well-run organization that is consistently decent, if nothing else, will find another quarterback. This isn't an organization that's been bad and Lamar has come in and saved them and now they're the best team in the NFL. And that they got knocked out of the playoffs in the first round this year, and they didn't make the playoffs last year. And when you say, well, Lamar Jackson didn't play in those games, so that doesn't actually help his case here. In fact, it hurts it. Oh, so I'm going to guarantee all this money to a guy who's won 1 playoff game in his career, and he can't stay healthy. I'm going to do that. Do I have to do that? Do the Ravens have to do that? No, they don't. They're not going to do it. The only way, and I get it, Deshaun Watson hoodwinked a desperate owner into a stupid decision. And I have brought this up so many times that the second that Cleveland was told last year they were out. They were told, hey, nice try to get Deshaun, but he's not interested. He's from Georgia. He's talking to the Saints. He's talking to the Falcons. He's talking to the Panthers. He's not interested in joining the Cleveland Browns. You guys are out. And the Cleveland owner panicked and offered a fully guaranteed contract. And the second they did that, you don't think Deshaun's agents went and took that deal to the other 3 teams that he wanted to go to more? Of course they did. And as soon as they took that contract to Atlanta, the Falcons, who had already moved on from Matt Ryan, the Falcons who were willing to pay Deshaun Watson money, the Falcons who were willing to give up picks in exchange to the Texans in order to get Deshaun Watson, as soon as they were told, hey, you got to fully guarantee the contract, Atlanta said, no, thank you. No, now we're not interested. And so Deshaun Watson's an isolated case in which a bad team made a bad decision. But the Ravens aren't stupid. And the rest of the league is not going to play the charade either. It's not collusion. The fact that nobody wants to take Lamar Jackson with 1 playoff win, give him a fully guaranteed contract when he can't stay healthy, and he's only won 1 playoff game. He's just not good enough to be the kind of player to force the league's hand. The only way that you could see a player stand up to the league is if it is a guy whose franchise can absolutely not continue without that player. And in my opinion, there's 1 guy like that in the league right now. I mean, Tom Brady, for crying out loud, couldn't even get the Patriots to let his personal body guru strength coach on the plane. Talking about fully guaranteeing $250 million. And Bill Belichick's like, no. Can't have your personal guru on the team. Sorry about it. The only guy I think that could pull this off is Joe Burrow. And even then, Joe Burrow would have to announce it like this. At the end of this year, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to try to sign Joe Burrow to a contract extension sometime this summer. And they're going to try to get in early because if you sign after Herbert, if you sign after Jalen Hurts, then those guys are going to get more money. So you want to make sure, like, hey, if we're going to have to pay 50, let's pay 50. Let's not pay 53 or 54 million. But if Joe Burrow, and I wouldn't advise this because of the money that he would get up front, but if Joe Burrow were to say, look, here's the deal. I want a fully guaranteed contract. I'm going to play on the 5th-year option. I'm going to play on the franchise tag, and I'm going to play on the franchise tag again. And either you can give me the fully guaranteed contract 3 years from now, or you can give me the fully guaranteed contract right now. Would you rather just pay it right now instead of having to pay it later? When 3 years from now, I could be $60 million a year. I could be $65 million a year. And I'm going to demand that you fully guarantee it. And then you've got a shot. Because Cincinnati has been so bad for so long. And Joe Burrow is the only reason that franchise is any good. He might be the only guy who could pull that off. And even then, the cash-poor Bengals probably wouldn't be able to afford the deal. So if you're going to have a player that challenges the league, it's got to be better than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has 1 playoff win. Joe Burrow has 5 and was drafted 2 years after Lamar. Patrick Mahomes has 11. That's the kind of player that it would take to get the NFL off their tush, to change the way that they do business. It's not going to be Lamar Jackson, who's played 12 games each of the last 2 years. I mean, he thinks he's good enough for that. He thinks he's good enough to take away one of the strongest bargaining chips in all of professional sports in America, the non-guaranteed contracts of the NFL. Aaron Rodgers signed a contract recently. It's not guaranteed. Russell Wilson signed a contract when we thought he was good. It's not guaranteed. Only one team made that decision. And as soon as they made the decision, every other team was like, ooh, no, we don't want a part of that. And so Lamar Jackson, who's a good quarterback, he's not a great quarterback. Lamar Jackson's going to be the guy who gets the league to change. He's not that good. Derrick Henry as a running back has won more playoff games for his team than Lamar Jackson as a quarterback has won for his team in the playoffs. And Derrick Henry's team is reportedly trying to shop him, and apparently nobody else wants him. But he's won more playoff games for his team, carrying his group, than Lamar Jackson has. I tweeted this out last night. Not guaranteeing a contract to Lamar Jackson is not collusion. It's common sense. Why? Because he's good. But he's not that good. If Patrick Mahomes were to tell Kansas City, hey, I'm going to play throughout my rookie contract, I'm going to play on my 5th-year option, you're going to franchise tag me twice, and then I am going to get a fully guaranteed contract. And that's going to be how it is. Now you've got something. Because after that second year, when Patrick Mahomes hits free agency, I do think there might be an owner who says, okay, it's going to cost us $600 million to sign Patrick Mahomes. It's going to cost us, let's just say fully guaranteed, it's going to cost us $300 million to sign Patrick Mahomes. Is it worth the $300 million over what our franchise is going to go through over the next 5 or 6 years of this contract? And I could argue for Mahomes, the answer is yes. If you win a bunch of regular season games, but you can't do anything in the playoffs, I mean, what's it do to your organization? Do we think any higher of the Ravens as an organization because they have Lamar than when they didn't have Lamar and they won the Super Bowl with Joe Flacco and they made the playoffs consistently and they won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer? I don't think so. So the idea of challenging the league to say, okay, we want fully guaranteed contracts. One, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But two, and maybe more importantly, this is the wrong guy to be representing that cause. He's not good enough. And for some reason, people just don't understand that. Congratulations. You won an MVP 4 seasons ago. 4 years ago. Aaron Rodgers won 2 MVPs since then, and there's one team in the league that's interested in him. Think about that. Lamar's a good player. He's not a great player. He's not an elite player. He's not a franchise-altering player. And he doesn't win the playoffs. I'm sorry, he's the wrong guy to fight this cause for the players. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Plus, there is one other element of this Lamar Jackson argument that absolutely, positively bothers me. And it is so ignored by everybody, especially these former players on TV. I mean, these former players on TV, you would think that it's the National Lamar League and not the National Football League, the way they talk about how Lamar's entitled to this fully guaranteed contract. And there's one major point that seems to be lost, and it's almost lost by everybody. It's to the point that it's honestly kind of driving me crazy. The whole thing is driving me crazy. But this one point that's lost, we'll get to coming up next. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. If you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. Play hooky and join 1025 The Game at Jasper's, located at 1918 West End Avenue, Thursday, March 16th, for the first day of the tournament. While you're there, take advantage of the Shot and a Beer special. That's a shot of Nelson's Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey, plus a bottled domestic beer for just $10. Jasper's oversized bar, TVs, and game room make them the place to catch all of the games.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knesvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hey, it's John Tesh. You know, we've all felt the impact of inflation on everything from food to housing to gas. But most people don't realize the cost of your home and auto insurance is also likely to go up. With the rising cost of building materials, car parts, and labor, even the insurance companies are taking a hit, which means you will too. So if you're working with a company that only has one option and not a company that shops multiple carriers to find the best deal, you're wasting your money. It's why you should be working with Zander Insurance. They represent over 24 top insurance companies that are competing for your business, meaning you get the right home and auto coverage at the lowest prices this year and every year. And Zander's service can't be beat, I know from experience. Just check out their reviews. Saving money has to be a priority these days. Go to Zander.com or call 800-356-4282 and find out how much you can save. You'll see why over 500,000 families trust Zander.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, the NFL is dead wrong with what they're doing with Lamar Jackson now, because there is no other plausible explanation why a 26-year-old MVP quarterback that's won a road playoff game and his 4th in win since he's come into the league, who's had his team in the playoffs 4 of the 5 seasons he's been a starter, can't get the guarantees that Deshaun Watson got in his contract. There is no explanation for it other than collusion. There is no plausible explanation.
There are other explanations. I agree with you. Here's the thing. I agree with you, but here's the
There's no plausible explanation when you start to see the reaction of all the other teams within hours of the Ravens making the announcement that they're going to tag.
So, I don't really know this Chris Canty that well. I mean, I think I partied with him at the Kentucky Derby like 10 years ago, but I legitimately barely know this guy. But, man, he is freaking mad on TV. Like, it honestly makes me uncomfortable. Like, he yells at people, and it's almost like he's about to fight with people on TV. It's really kind of over the top. And I remember a couple weeks ago, he got into it with Tannenbaum, and I kind of laughed because there's no way that Chris Canty has any idea compared to Tannenbaum. But I digress. And you heard right there saying, it has to be collusion because Deshaun Watson got the fully guaranteed contract, and Lamar Jackson is a former league MVP, and he won a road playoff game, and so he deserves that contract. Sound about right, Ian?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So here's the one thing I can't get over, because every time we talk about this fully guaranteed nonsense with Lamar Jackson, somebody always brings up Deshaun Watson's contract. And every time I hear that, I think to myself, that deal is a horrible deal. And not only is it a horrible deal, but it has been a horrible deal since the day it got signed. It got signed. We were all shocked. We all said, you're stupid. Why did you sign him to that contract? Then, as soon as they signed that contract, there was a report that came out that, oh, yeah, no, he just passed one grand jury. He's got to deal with another grand jury. And we thought, you're so stupid. Why would you sign that contract? What are you doing? Why are you so stupid to sign Deshaun Watson to that contract? The Falcons, who didn't have a quarterback, the Saints, who didn't have a quarterback, the Panthers, who didn't have a quarterback, and the Panthers at the time had the richest owner in the NFL. And they're like, you guys are so stupid in Cleveland. And they are stupid in Cleveland. And that's why Cleveland is Cleveland, because they're so stupid. But the second they signed that contract, everybody said, that's a bad contract. Then HBO specials, New York Times articles, everything that happened with Deshaun Watson, everybody kept saying, man, you are so stupid for signing him to that contract. And then it comes out that the contract was so skewed for Deshaun that even if he gets suspended, he's not going to lose any money. Even if he gets suspended for the whole season, he's not going to lose any money. Even if he gets suspended for next season, he's not going to lose any money. And we all thought, you gave him that contract? You are so stupid. And then Deshaun Watson played at the end of this season, and he sucked. Not that anybody watched, because Cleveland's not on TV because they stink, but he was awful. I saw Matt Castle did a rating of quarterbacks in the NFL, like the Matt Castle rankings for quarterbacks. And not that I care about what Matt Castle says, but just using this as kind of a barometer because it's on the top of my mind. And he had Mac Jones like 24th, and he had Deshaun Watson one spot ahead of Mac Jones, and Jacoby Brissett one spot behind Mac Jones. Now, I think Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, but that's where Deshaun is right now. I mean, right now, would you consider Deshaun Watson a top 10 quarterback in the NFL? Of course not. And so, again, this idea of how could you give that money to Deshaun and not give it to Lamar? It's like, first of all, one guy did it. It was stupid when he did it. It's even dumber now that he's done it. And so you think the other teams across the league are going to look at that and say, well, that was a really stupid decision. Let's make that one too. The Deshaun Watson contract, other than the idea that it's possible to have somebody pay 3 first-round picks and give a $235 million fully guaranteed contract, other than just putting it out there that it is possible to sign that, has done Lamar Jackson no favors. Because everybody thinks it's a ridiculous contract. And if the Ravens were told, hey, you have to give this contract to Lamar Jackson or you lose him for nothing. Right now, they lose him for 2 first-round picks. But it's you have to give him this contract or you lose him for nothing. I am telling you, he's going to take the nothing, Steve Bisciotti. Because, and I said this at the time, the second you give Deshaun Watson that contract, you make him a business partner. He's not just a player. He's a business partner. Think about this. Let's say Deshaun Watson decides with his fully guaranteed contract that he hates the coach. I hate this coach. And the owner loves the coach. And Deshaun says, I can't play for this coach. What do you think is going to happen? He's got to fire the coach. He can't fire the $230 million guy. He can fire the $6 million guy. and go get another $6 million guy or go get a $10 million guy. That's what's happening in Denver. The Broncos screwed up by trading for Russell Wilson. There's no way out of it because of the money that they owe him and the picks that they don't have to draft a quarterback. And so what are they doing? They're throwing money at the problem. Sean Payton didn't want to come here originally. Jim Harbaugh didn't want to come here, even though we begged him. D'Amico Ryans didn't want to come here. So what do? How do we get a good coach? Because the only way that we can salvage this is if some super genius coach can fix Russell Wilson. Let's go get Sean Payton. He's not interested. Well, how do we make him interested? Give him $18 million a year. That's what they had to do. And they had to pay another first-round pick to be able to hire Sean Payton. Just throwing money at the problem. Anybody feel good about the Broncos this upcoming season? Of course you don't. So this idea of, well, Cleveland did it, so Baltimore should do it. And if Baltimore's not going to do it, somebody else should do it for Lamar. That doesn't sit with me because the Cleveland decision was terrible. It was terrible when it happened. I keep going back to the Falcons. I use them as the example, which is kind of funny and I guess a little ironic because everybody uses the Falcons as the team that should sign Lamar, and the fact that the Falcons aren't interested in Lamar is a total sign that the league is colluding against Lamar Jackson, which I don't think is true. I think anybody who says it's collusion is the kind of guy whose team loses a game and says the ref screwed us. That's what I think. But I go back to the Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons could have had Deshaun Watson. He wanted to go there. He was meeting with the other teams just to meet with them, but he honestly wanted to go to the Falcons. He's from Georgia. The Falcons knew about the 24 sexual assault allegations. They were willing to put up with the PR hit that would have come with trading for and subsequently signing Deshaun. They would have had to do that embarrassing press conference that Cleveland did where Deshaun got up there and said that he thought he treated women respectfully, and Arthur Blank and Arthur Smith, and I love Arthur Smith, but he would have had to go up there and take the bullets about how could you put this predator on your team? And they were willing to do it. They had to move off of a franchise icon in Matt Ryan, a league MVP. By the way, he's league MVP. You want to go ahead and guarantee him a contract? They would have had to move off of Matt Ryan. And they would have had to ship him somewhere for pennies on the dollar, and they would have said goodbye to an era of Falcon football. We talk about don't trade Derrick Henry. Well, Matt Ryan was very popular there, and they were willing to do it. They were going to have to, for all you cap people out there, they were going to have to take on the dead cap charge of Matt Ryan's contract and all the money that they would have had to pay Deshaun Watson, and they were willing to do it. They would have had to give up the picks in order to get Deshaun Watson, and they were willing to do it. Then they came back and said, Cleveland's guaranteeing the whole contract, and Atlanta said, no, we're good. Come on. You guys think that because Cleveland did something stupid, that all of a sudden everybody else in the league is going to also do something stupid. No. And it's like there's this entitlement that, it's collusion. No, it's called taking care of your franchise and not running it into the ground like Cleveland has. No offense. And I think Governor Haslam's going to do a good job owning the Predators. And again, my brother and I are very different. But wasn't your first concern when Governor Haslam bought the Predators that, oh man, his brothers run that thing in Cleveland like a disaster? And you know the answer is yes. So no, you don't get to say the Deshaun Watson contract entitles Lamar Jackson to the same contract because they did something dumb. I remember when I was a kid, and I tell my parents, so-and-so got to do this. And they said, well, if so-and-so jumped off the bridge, would you? And that's the same thing here. Cleveland signs an incredibly stupid contract. It looks dumber the second they signed it. And now you're telling me that I have to sign somebody to the same contract. Got one playoff win. No. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. So there was one thing that was said on ESPN this morning about this whole Lamar Jackson thing that literally made me spit out my cereal. I was not ready for it. And it does involve the Titans. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. TriStar Moving. They're my official movers. I love TriStar Moving because I moved with them a couple years ago, and it was fabulous. And I always tell people when it comes to moving, it's very expensive, so get a bid. Just like you would anything else. You're going to paint your house, you're going to get a bid. You're going to fix your roof, you're going to get a bid. You're going to do anything, get a bid. and get one from TriStar Moving. Give them a call at 615-640-1219 and tell them that I sent you, and you'll get 10% off your entire move, which, again, because moving's expensive, that's a lot of money. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219. Tell them that I sent you. They've got an excellent staff, and their owners, Garrett and Robert, local Nashville dudes, and I am telling you they're my friends, and I believe in them, and I know them because, well, I moved with them, and I loved it. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, NashvilleMoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 10% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
When you want all the
going in and the score, blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the
what a stop! Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is Smashville, we have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find, luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now you can get half off a $25 gift card to their new location in Antioch at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, new location in Antioch at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, the Predators have a game tomorrow night. It's your chance to participate in Preds Pick to Click, brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty and Superbook Sports. If you correctly guess a Preds player that scores a goal in the game tomorrow night, you win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. Participate in Pick to Click tomorrow morning at 8:45 with Robbie and Rexroad. So this morning, ESPN wall-to-wall coverage about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens with a little bit of Aaron Rodgers sprinkled in, and then they had some basketball NBA highlights, and I'm like, get those NBA highlights off my TV. Get back to football. And so they're sitting there, and they're going around the table, and they're talking about Lamar Jackson, and then finally they bring in Mike Tannenbaum. And the reason I say finally is because some of these people they put on the panel at ESPN don't know if it's pumped or stuffed. Now, they must have been really good players, but a lot of these guys, they don't have a clue. It reminds me of one time. I can't remember if it was Chris or Derek, but one of them said something crazy. And I said to Floyd, I was like, yeah, I almost drove my car off the road because Chris or Derek said something crazy. And Floyd laughed and said, yeah, players, what do they know? And I kind of feel that way. So they bring in Mike Tannenbaum. So they ask Mike Tannenbaum about Lamar Jackson and this situation with the Ravens. And what he said literally made me spit out my cereal this morning. Play the clip.
You were the one offering these contracts on behalf of ownership. What is your perspective on what happened with Lamar yesterday?
Greedy, I really appreciate all the sentiment, and that very well may be true, but we don't know that yet, and here's why. The offseason really hasn't even begun. So if we're sitting here on May 1st and all these teams are passing on Lamar Jackson, everything that the guys are saying could very well be true. But based on my experience, there are a lot of twists and turns. So take a team like Tennessee, for example. Maybe they need a quarterback because they move on from Ryan Tannehill. And nothing gives you more leverage than supply and demand. And as a 26-year-old former MVP in the prime of his career, some team may look at what's happened in Indy and say, there's no solutions in Indy coming out of the draft. And now my best option is to go get Lamar Jackson, and I have to go pay this bill.
What? The Titans? I mean, I'm literally sitting there watching TV. They bring in Mike Tannenbaum, and he's like, I think that there's still more to this Lamar Jackson thing. I mean, hey, what about the Titans? And I'm sitting here saying, the Titans. With what money are the Titans going to go out and pay Lamar Jackson? I mean, yesterday we had Bob Mendez on, and he couldn't wait to take a crack at how the Titans owners were poor. I mean, what are we talking about here? The Titans? The Titans, who have a $27 million quarterback under contract that run a particular offense that Lamar can't play, that have Derrick Henry in the fold, and they're trying to trade him. And, again, they've got $137 million in salary committed for next season. And you're going to tell me the Titans are going to go out there and make an offer for Lamar Jackson. I mean, what? I heard that, and I almost had to turn the TV off. It's bad enough that the players are on TV saying, it's collusion. It's collusion that they won't pay Lamar Jackson a contract. It's ridiculous. But it's even crazier that you say the Titans. Hey, maybe they move on from Ryan Tannehill and they decide they want Lamar Jackson. Really? Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah, that's right up Amy's alley. Lamar Jackson. I couldn't believe that one. And then Ian brought up a great point during the break, which I actually thought about when I heard Tannenbaum say this. Wasn't Tannenbaum Mr. Ryan Tannehill last year? I mean, he came on the show and was like, he's such a great guy. I want to go to dinner with him. He's the best. And now Tannenbaum is like, maybe the Titans could be interested in Lamar Jackson. What? Again, I heard that. Okay. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, Chris Canty did not say it was collusion because of all the teams not giving him the contract for Deshaun. It was because you saw how many teams came out and said they had no interest in Lamar Jackson minutes after the franchise tag was placed on him. So I have heard some of this. That is, how can these teams just decide within 5 minutes that they're not interested in Lamar Jackson? Let me ask you a question. Number one, if I took some random player in the NFL who's a free agent and I said, are you interested in him? And you knew you weren't interested in him, wouldn't you say, no? Let me ask you this. You interested in Baker Mayfield? No. So think about that for number one. Number two, you all act like this hasn't been a possibility for weeks. I had Mark Dominic on my SiriusXM show 2 weeks ago. And he said if he was the Ravens, the former general manager in Tampa, he said if he was the Ravens, he would have given Lamar Jackson the non-exclusive franchise tag and would have said, Lamar, if you go find a better deal, go get your better deal. And if I want to match it, then I'll match it. And if I don't want to match it, then I won't match it. So this isn't like this caught teams in the league by surprise. In fact, they were reporting at the Combine, Jeremy Fowler and Dan Graziano at ESPN, they were saying that the Ravens were talking about using the non-exclusive franchise tag. So you think these teams haven't sat around and said, okay, here's what it would take to get Lamar Jackson. It would take probably 4 years guaranteed on a 5-year deal so that way Lamar can say like, oh, I didn't get fully guaranteed. They lied about what I was doing, but you're probably going to have to guarantee 4 years. I'm going to have to give up 2 first-round picks, and I'm going to have to hope that Lamar Jackson is better in the playoffs than he has been as a passer, and I am going to have to hope that he makes it through the season, which he hasn't done each of the last 2 years. Do we want to do that? And every team had already decided ahead of time, no. So then when the news became official and the reporters took out their phones and they started texting the Falcons and the Raiders and the Commanders and all these teams, and they said, what do you think about this? Are you interested in Lamar? They're like, no. I mean, again, let's use the Titans as an example. Mike Tannenbaum said, maybe Tennessee would be interested in Lamar Jackson. Ian, do you think the Titans are interested at all in Lamar Jackson?
No, I would be surprised.
I saw RG3 put it out there yesterday that, Daniel Jones got a contract and Lamar didn't get a contract. And I saw that and I rolled my eyes. I'm like, and if Daniel Jones was asking for a 5-year fully guaranteed contract, I guarantee you he wouldn't have gotten the deal. If Lamar Jackson was willing to take $40 million a season for the next 4 years, 2 of which are guaranteed, the Ravens would have hand-delivered that contract to Miami for him to sign. It's not apples to apples. The contract that Daniel Jones signed was good for Daniel Jones. It's not a good contract for Lamar Jackson. But this idea of like, oh, yeah, they colluded because they all decided they didn't want him, they've had weeks to think about this stuff. I mean, how many times have we talked about, should the Titans be interested in Aaron Rodgers? Again, we didn't know until today, or yesterday, I guess, that the Packers were interested in moving on from Aaron Rodgers. We didn't know it officially, and now we do. Why? Because the Jets are talking to him. Well, you think the Titans headquarters say, oh, my God, Aaron Rodgers might be available. Let's talk about whether or not we want Aaron Rodgers. They've already discussed it. Man. Some of these people in the text line are going next level. Texter says Tannehill has a better playoff record than Lamar. I'm sorry. Lamar Jackson he's just not a good enough player to be making the demands that I feel like are being made. Texter says, how can you laugh and downplay signing Lamar, but you wanted Aaron Rodgers? You weren't saying the Titans couldn't afford him. I talked about that all the time. I said all the time, they're not going to pay $60 million at the quarterback position. I was like, hey, maybe if they pay $60 million, they're not going to. We knew that all along. And honestly, I think that's why they're not in the sweepstakes. Because I don't think they're interested in going from $27 million at quarterback to $58 million at quarterback. Chris Sanders will join us next. Derrick Henry on the trading block. Jeffrey Simmons wanting a deal. What does Chris make of it? We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company right here, 102.5-1063 The Game. Hey, by the way, the college basketball tournament is right around the corner. It's time for you to sign up to play the official Game Bracket Challenge brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Go to thegamenashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app now and sign up to play. Brackets will be open after the teams have been selected on Sunday, March 12th.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman & Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This week in Vanderbilt history, March 11th, 2012. The win was big, but certainly wasn't easy in New Orleans as the Commodores recorded one of the most important victories in the history of the men's basketball program. They defeated top-ranked Kentucky 71-64 for the first SEC tournament championship in more than 60 years. Vandy finished the game on a 16-2 run, holding the Wildcats without a field goal over the final 8 minutes, and to 35% from the field for the game. Jeffrey Taylor scored 18 points. John Jenkins and Festus Ezeli each had 17. As Kevin Stallings' team fought back from 7 down to tie and take the lead with less than 2 minutes to play. The emotion poured out as the final horn sounded and the confetti flew, and the Commodores claimed their first SEC tourney title since 1951. Vanderbilt got the automatic bid for the NCAA tournament and played in the big dance the following week in Albuquerque. It was quite a party on a Sunday in New Orleans. Commodores 71, Kentucky 64, March of 2012. This week in Vanderbilt history, I'm Kevin Ingram.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, March 8th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
Gary Ashton here. People walk up to me all the time and say, don't sell without the intel. This message couldn't be more true. Right now, it's a fantastic time to buy or sell your home in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. No one has more intel than the Gary Ashton team. So what is this intel we keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without stagings or showings? Intel on where to find your next home so that you can sell your current home while the market is hot? An intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity. For more intel, visit GaryAshton.com, where we can give you the insight and the most up-to-date real estate intel in Nashville. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate team of the Nashville Predators. Get the confidence to sell your home and find the dream address without the stress. Visit us today at GaryAshton.com. That's GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville's best deal this week is from seafood sensation, often imitated but never duplicated. It's a Nashville original seafood restaurant while supplies last. Grab half off a $25 gift card to the Seafood Sensation located at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike in Antioch and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more at theGameNashville.com/deals. Gift card only good, though, for the Antioch location. So, Derrick Henry, according to one report, is on the block. According to another report, the Titans are not shopping Derrick Henry, though Paul Kaharski pointed out earlier, and I almost laughed in my car when he said on Robbie and Joe that they're not conflicting reports, which was pretty funny. Chris Sanders joins us now on the program. So, Chris, I do wonder this. What is your reaction to the news when you heard on Monday that the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry at the Combine last week in Indianapolis?
You know, I was kind of terrified because everybody knows that the King is the best running back in the league. But the thing about it is I had to get to the realization that this is a business. And when I realized that it was a business is when Eddie George got cut and went to the Cowboys and, you know, Chris Johnson went to the Jets. So I just remember that even though, you know, I love, you know, Derrick Henry being in the backfield for the Tennessee Titans, but at the end of the day, I know it is a business.
But how does – and I understand any time that you talk about a very popular player
Absolutely.
and moving on from that player, it's always, hey, it's a business. And I'm not denying that it's a business and everything else. But Chris Johnson wasn't good anymore when the Titans moved off of him. And Eddie George, and I love Eddie, but Eddie George wasn't good anymore other than, you know, he was tough and he was a leader and all that stuff. But, I mean, he went to Dallas and Marion Barber ended up beating him out and playing over him. So Derrick Henry is still at the top of the league. He's an all-pro candidate. He's the second leading rusher. I mean, to me, there's a difference between, you know, hey, anybody could be dealt at any time and, you know, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but it all depends on what Mike Vrabel and Carthon want to do. How are they going to build this team? What is it going to look like? Because if you look at, the background of Carthon, he has a running back by committee. You got McCaffrey, you got Michaels, you got Jeff Wilson. McCaffrey had 746 yards, Michaels had 279, and Wilson had 468. That combined it at 1,493. And then you have Henry, who's one guy that's making a lot of money in the league that has 1,538 yards. So basically,
but you know what's crazy about that, though?
What's that?
I don't want to cut you off on this, but what's
No,
crazy about that is they traded Jeff Wilson as soon as they made the deal to get Christian McCaffrey, and Christian McCaffrey makes more money than Derrick Henry. And they traded all those picks in San Francisco to get Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, but it all depends on what Carthon and Mike Vrabel want to do. Do they say, okay, we want to run this thing back? Because also we got to talk about the quarterback situation, and you want to keep those two dogs in a row. But with Derrick Henry, I understand that he is a pillar. In my opinion, he's the best running back to ever come out of the Titans organization. I'm talking about, and I say this really lightly, that with the Titans/Oilers, he is the best. But at the end of the day, what is best for the Tennessee Titans now? Because you better believe, I know everybody's falling in love with Henry, and I have fallen in love with Henry with their heart. And my heart is with Derrick Henry also. But at the end of the day, is he a long-term decision or is it a temporary decision?
So when you bring up the business element of this, Chris Sanders is our guest. When you bring up the business element of this, does it make for good business to be shopping Derrick Henry when you know the league? They're not going to give you a first-round pick for a 29-year-old running back. So, would it make good business sense? I mean, for next season and everything else to trade Derrick Henry for a third-round pick?
Yeah, but they need picks, Jared. They really, really need picks. And I know it sounds crazy because, just say if a team comes out and say, you know what, we're going to give you a third round this year and a third round next year. Do you think they should jump on that? Absolutely, because next year
I don't.
You wouldn't?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't make that trade.
Yeah, in a way, I wouldn't. But in a way, I would, because if Derrick is not going to be here for 2 and 3 more years, then why would you keep him around? And I know a lot of people are getting upset and said, "Oh, I'm not thinking with my heart. I'm thinking the best job for this team." And I know that hurts when people say that. I know people are talking about it, the YMCA, and everybody's talking about this and that. But at the end of the day, what is the best decision for the Tennessee Titans?
See, here's where I disagree with you, though, on that.
Okay.
I think if you make that trade, I think you're going to be bad next season. I think you are voluntarily blowing it up there and waving the white flag on next season. Because I think Derrick is – I don't think they can win without Derrick. And then on top of it, you said 2 third-round picks. So I just traded Derrick Henry for Malik Willis and Monty Rice.
Yeah, I agree. But here's the thing too. You better believe that the Titans are covering all their bases. They're not just going to say, "Okay, I'm going to let Derrick go," and not look at what is actually going on. I know in the draft everybody's talking about the receiver position is rich and the tight end position is rich, but you look at this draft. It is rich in running backs. You got the cat from Texas, Robinson. You got Gibbs from Alabama. You got a guy from Mississippi. You got Chase Brown from Illinois. They're not just going to just let Henry go if they don't have a back plan, because you better believe there is some good backs. I'm not saying they might be good as Henry, but also, there's some guys that can make some plays and get 1,300 yards.
Chris Sanders is with us. What was your reaction to Jeffrey Simmons taking down his social media association with the Titans?
I think that Jeffrey Simmons made a statement. And when I say he made a statement is he's saying, last year, he was going through that process. It was all honky-dory, we laughing, and he had in-house, sitting out. But he's saying, you know what, I'm not doing that this year, because I'm not going to let you sit here and bring me in and say we're going to take over a contract and you're not going to do it and have the situation that happened with A.J. Brown. He made a statement and said, you know what, last year's different. This year we got to make sure we get something done or I'm sitting out. That was a huge, huge statement.
So something that bothers me about that is he really can't sit out. The way the collective bargaining agreement is written compared to your day.
Yeah.
Your day, you could sit out and
True.
you could hold out on the team and things like that. And in today, it's $40,000 a day that he misses. Yeah. And it's not forgivable. It's not, you showed up and we want to be on the right foot and you got a new deal, so here you go. That's $40,000 a day. And on top of it, he loses $600,000 a game check for every preseason game that he hasn't reported to the team on. I mean, that's real money when you're making $10 million. And so this idea of I'm going to sit out, I mean, it just doesn't compute with today's era. And Jeffrey Simmons talked about how he thought about sitting out before this season. If they don't realize that you can't sit out.
Yeah, but see, the thing about it is, Jared, is he knows that the Titans need him. If the Titans don't sign him, then the Titans defense is not going to be that effective. So he can do all these things about the internet and all this crazy stuff, because I'm going to tell you something. This is not just a guy. This is an impact guy. He's an impact player. When I say impact player, look at what he did last year against the Cincinnati Bengals. He absolutely, one man, took over that game. So when he does all the shenanigans, I'm not saying he's doing shenanigans because it's a business, but at the end of the day, he knows deep in his heart that this Tennessee Titans cannot win without Jeffrey Simmons. That's why he made a statement to say, I'm taking all my stuff out and I'm going to make you sign me because you need me on this team.
But he's not the only player that they can't win without.
Say what now?
He's not the only player they can't win without. They can't win without Tannehill.
Yeah, I mean,
if Tannehill gets hurt like he did last year and Josh Dobbs is the quarterback, you stink.
Yeah, I agree. But let me ask you this. With Jeffrey Simmons been out there, is that defense really good?
I mean, it's been good with him out there, and it's been terrible in 2020 with him out there.
That's what I'm saying. This is a guy. This is a it's kind of like Aaron Donald from the Rams. I mean, he's a guy that you feel on the field. He's not just a guy just out there. There's a lot of guys that just out there make plays once in a while, but he's a guy that you feel on the field. And when you have a guy like that, it's a must sign. I mean, they have to sign this guy. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, and I know I make a lot of people mad, but if it came down to Derrick Henry or Jeffrey Simmons, I'm taking Jeffrey Simmons all day long.
I still don't understand why I have to pick. Both guys are under contract for $10 million next year.
I'm just saying if it came down to that. I'm not saying that they're going to pick. I'm just saying if it came down to that, that at this moment, the impact player will be Jeffrey Simmons.
Chris Sanders, last one for you. Free agency is on Monday. How active do you think the Titans need to be? And do you think with the right free agent signings and a good draft that the Titans can be highly competitive next year with Tannehill and Henry?
Yeah, I mean, they have to. I mean, they're going to have to fix the offensive line. I hope, when free agency starts, I hope one of the guys that get it from the 49ers, Mike McGlinchey. They have to get him, or Orlando Brown for the Chiefs. They got to figure out this offensive line and then build in the draft. I mean, in the draft, they're going to have to get some playmakers on the outside. I mean, the wide receiver position is really loaded. You got Zay Flowers, you got Jackson, Jackson Smith, Najigbo from the Ohio State University. So there's some players out there that can come in and play. But before you could do anything, before you can get some guys on the perimeter, they got to make sure to go in free agency and kind of sign those guys, those couple of guys that I named.
So I'm going to tell you something right now.
The
Titans are not. The Titans are not going to sign Mike McGlinchey.
Because they might not, but you never know.
No, it's not. They might not. They're not going to sign Mike McGlinchey.
If they do, I want an apology.
Even though Mike McGlinchey wants to play here,
right?
Just from what I've been told, I don't think the Titans are going to be signing Mike McGlinchey.
Okay, that's good.
Throwing it out there. Chris Sanders, as always, joining us on the program. Great stuff, Chris. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, boss. Bye-bye.
Yep. So Chris Sanders says the Titans absolutely, positively, no matter what, have to sign Jeffrey Simmons, and that they cannot afford to let Jeffrey Simmons sit out on the Titans. And I love Chris with all my heart, I do. But I hope Jeffrey Simmons is not getting his advice from Chris Sanders. And I will explain why next, and I hope Jeffrey Simmons is watching what is happening around him in the NFL, because he could really learn from that as to where he is right now. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Ball right to score. Yoshi sets up Matt Duchesne.
All the big stories.
For the Predators, are you holding on to what you got, or are you selling some guys off?
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Green flag is in the air.
It may not happen that way every game.
His shot stopped.
Play better, gotta coach better.
TD Tigers.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. It's that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
Now, your Game Center update.
The NFL talk is still all about quarterback Lamar Jackson and his future contract. ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck joined Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace this afternoon and shared his thoughts on the situation.
I think that he'll be a Raven. I thought that the Ravens would apply the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar because what appears to be going on, at least to me, is that, look, Lamar wants, certain guarantees in his contract, at a level that probably resets the market. The Ravens are in a position where they're like, look, we're not going to do that. Like, we'll sign you to a starting quarterback deal and give you a bunch of money guaranteed and all that, but we're not going to reset the market, and have it be all fully guaranteed.
Round 1 of the SEC basketball tournament tips off tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Ole Miss will take on South Carolina at 6 with LSU versus Georgia to follow. Both the Vols and Vandy are in action on Thursday. Tennessee will play the winner of Ole Miss and South Carolina, and Vanderbilt will take on the winner of LSU and Georgia. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So the Lamar Jackson drama continues along, and I hope Jeffrey Simmons, who took down, step 1 of the contract showdown is I take down my social media. And I hope Jeffrey Simmons is watching the Lamar Jackson saga right now with the Ravens and doing it with an open mind and a true understanding of how this works. Because we had Chris Sanders on in the last segment, and I love Chris with all my heart. And Chris was talking about how the Titans have to pay Jeffrey Simmons because if Jeffrey Simmons sits out this year, then the Titans defense is not going to be the same. And I heard that. And I know what he's saying, and I agree that it's important to have Jeffrey Simmons, and he said they can't win without him. And I agree. I don't think he's the only guy they can't win without. I don't think they can win without Henry, and I don't think they can win without Tannehill. But, again, a lot of people are probably thinking that. They have to pay Jeffrey Simmons. And Jeffrey Simmons, one part that I thought was a little odd in The Athletic, when Jeffrey Simmons talked about his contract, he talked about how he had thought about holding out from training camp this year and then decided against it and was going to play, but now he wants the money. And TD has said the $10.75 million fifth-year option that Jeffrey Simmons is going to be playing on this year, that he's not going to play on that number. If there's not a contract in place, he's not going to play. And every time I hear that kind of stuff, I think, well, except that's not how that works. Jeffrey Simmons cannot hold out. The CBA does not give him the power. Lamar Jackson has wanted to flex on the Ravens and put it to the system for the last 2 years. You know, we talk about how he won an MVP 3 years ago. And we talk about, you do know that as soon as the Ravens could sign him to an extension, they wanted to sign him to an extension. Just like the Bills got their deal done with Josh Allen as soon as they could, the Ravens have wanted to sign Lamar Jackson. But he has wanted to put it to the system. And so what has happened to Lamar Jackson? And again, I hope Jeffrey Simmons is watching this. And I hope he's not just sitting there saying, the Ravens are doing him wrong, or the league is colluding against Lamar. I hope he's actually looking at the leverage that the CBA, that his union that represents him, agreed to. Because Lamar Jackson had the fifth-year option placed on him, and he played on that. Now he's got the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. And unless he finds a deal and a team that's willing to give up 2 first-round picks in order to sign him, or the Ravens match that contract, he'll be playing on the franchise tag. And let's say Lamar has a Lamar-like season, then guess what he'll be doing next year too? Playing on the franchise tag. And then after 3 years, the fifth-year option, franchise tag number 1, franchise tag number 2, then Lamar Jackson can be a free agent. That's it. Everything else, every step of the way, there is something or somebody in which the Ravens have leverage on Lamar Jackson. And the Titans are no different when it comes to Jeffrey Simmons. I ripped the Titans yesterday about how if they trade Derrick Henry, ownership has to own that move. I have ripped on the Titans saying, well, if they're going to cut all these guys and not be active spenders in free agency, even though they've got the cash of what they spent last year, what are we doing? So I am not backing the Titans in this Jeffrey Simmons versus the Titans contract negotiation. I'm just telling you what the rules are. And I heard Caroline talking about this yesterday, about Jeffrey Simmons should get every penny he deserves. But that's not how it works. And I'm going to lay it out for you exactly what the Titans are thinking, or what the Titans should be thinking, and what Jeffrey Simmons should know. Because when you go into a negotiation, you need to know the leverage that the opposition has. Jeffrey Simmons is under contract for $10.75 million this season, period. Now, if he signs a new contract, that'll change how much money he gets. But as of right now, he's under contract for $10.75 million. Then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. If Jeffrey Simmons does not show up, he loses $40,000 a day in an unforgivable fine that he has to pay back. He loses 3 game checks if he misses preseason games. You don't want to lose your game checks. So this idea of holding out, not necessarily going to work. People would say, well, what about the hold-in? Simmons shows up. It says, oh, my knee hurts. I can't practice today. I can't. He can do that. But if you drag it on too long, the team will slap you with conduct detrimental to the team, and they can suspend you, and then you lose game checks. So keep that in mind. Secondly, after this season, the Titans can franchise Jeffrey Simmons for about $19 million next year. After that, the Titans can franchise Jeffrey Simmons for $23 million, 120% of the tag in 2025. And I'm being generous here and rounding up, but that's a total of $52.75 million over 3 years, or $17.5 million a year. So over the next 3 years, Jeffrey Simmons cannot leave the Titans. He has almost no leverage except to pull the Le'Veon Bell and not sign the franchise tag and not show up to the team and not play and also not get paid. Because if you had to ask me, hey, either play and get your $18 million, $19 million, or don't play and get zero, most people would begrudgingly play on the $19 million. And so that's the only option that he has over the next 3 years is to pull the Le'Veon Bell. And remember, Le'Veon Bell was going to show the Steelers and he was going to prove everybody wrong. Le'Veon Bell skipped out on $14 million because he didn't want to play on the franchise tag for the second year in a row. That was 31% of his career earnings that he just crapped down the toilet. Jeffrey Simmons is not going to do that. That's why nobody else has done what Le'Veon Bell did. So again, if this idea of, the Titans have to pay Jeffrey Simmons and Jeffrey Simmons is going to want to break the bank and Jeffrey Simmons is going to want all the money and everything else, the Titans have the leverage. The Titans don't have to do it. That's like last year, A.J. Brown threatening the Titans of, I'm not going to show up if I don't get $80 million guaranteed. That's not how that works. You have a contract. You get fined every day you don't show up, so you will show up. That's just how it is. The players don't have leverage. The only leverage a player can get in this instance is if there is another player on the team that is either more important than that player or better than that player, because you can't franchise tag two people. So if A.J. Brown was still on the Titans and the Titans had tagged A.J. Brown this year and Jeffrey Simmons played on the 5th-year option, and then next year they wanted to tag A.J. Brown again, but they wanted to tag Jeffrey Simmons, they would have to pick. Jack Conklin got away with that. That's how he got out of here. Because the Titans had one tag, and they had to pick between Jack Conklin or Derrick Henry, and they used it on Derrick Henry. But that's it. And there is not a player on this roster who is at the same level of Jeffrey Simmons. So they can tag him for the next 2 years after this year. And you can tell me that I'm taking the Titans side, or I'm not being fair to Simmons, or they're not being fair to Simmons, or I'm just telling you what the rules are. And these are the rules that your union negotiated for you in the collective bargaining agreement. And you will tell me that, well, that's not fair. That's not fair that Jeffrey Simmons, who plays like a $22, $23 million a year player, that Jeffrey Simmons is going to get paid $11 million-ish this year and $19 million-ish next year. That's not fair. He's a $22, $25 million player. Those are the rules. And so what you can do is you can take advantage of the rules and sign a deal and get paid a lot of money up front and kind of do your thing. But that's it. If you are an elite franchise level player, and I'm not talking about one of these guys who you use the tag on him because you want him around and the tag is fine. Dalton Schultz on the Cowboys last year played on the franchise tag. Dalton Schultz is not a franchise caliber player, but Jeffrey Simmons is. So you'll use the tag multiple times. So I know it's easy to say, like, hey, I don't want to play on this franchise tag. I don't think that $10 million is fair. Or as TD said, he decided he was going to play last year, but he won't play on that 10.75 this year. What's he going to do? Take a $40,000 fine every day? Those are the rules. I didn't write them. I'm just telling you what they are. And sometimes because we remember players in the past, like an Emmitt Smith who held out, or we remember T.O. who held out, or we remember these players in previous collective bargaining agreements that held out, we say, okay, well, because Emmitt Smith held out, that's what Jeffrey Simmons can do. And he absolutely, positively cannot do it. Lamar Jackson can miss all of training camp and the preseason, and he won't lose $1 because he's on the franchise tag. But Jeffrey Simmons isn't. And then if Lamar Jackson doesn't show up, he'll start losing game checks into that $32 million that he's owed next year. So there is no leverage unless you don't want to get paid. If you don't want to get paid, then you have leverage. If you want to get fined, then you have leverage. But I don't think the Titans are all of a sudden going to give away their $17.4 million that they owe Simmons over the next 3 years and say, you know what, Jeffrey, you're right. You're worth $25 million a year, so let's just go ahead and give it to you. They're not going to do that. What Jeffrey Simmons has to realize is I'm due $17.4 million over the next 3 years. I've got to agree to a 5-year contract with the Titans that makes sure that they end up getting a deal on it in year 4 and year 5, but I'm going to get a little bit more money up front. So just look at Lamar, and you can be proud of Lamar, and you can say, good for standing your ground, Lamar, but just know this. Josh Allen, who was drafted the same year as Lamar Jackson, has made $67 million in cash over the last 2 years. Lamar Jackson has made 24.7. What would you rather have, 67 million or 24.7? So I'm just saying, Jeffrey Simmons, if he wants to get into this, taking the pictures down off Instagram, threatening a holdout, and I'm not saying he's threatening a holdout, but he kind of did in The Athletic, saying that he was thinking about it. Just know what the rules are and know what leverage you have, and in this case, what leverage they have. And you have to operate from there. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. I do not know what the fair market value is for Jeffrey Simmons, but I do know what the Titans have to be cognizant of, and I also know probably what's realistic for Simmons to get. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones on this. 1025-1063, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like the best-selling Toyota Tacoma, with powerful off-road capabilities and the best resale value in its class. Now through April 4th, you can get low 3.99 APR financing on a new 2023 Tacoma, with approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD Pro. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance included. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
Yes! Hey, Jim, everything okay? Did you see that catch?
No. Yeah, I'm happy about the touchdown. Just things are kind of off with me and Tiffany.
Hey, what's going on?
It's a little embarrassing, but I'm not making it happen in the bedroom. I don't know what's going on with me. And now Tiffany's upset. She thinks I'm not attracted to her anymore.
Hey, I had the same problem. But man, I found a secret.
Oh, yeah?
I started going to the Tennessee Men's Clinic for treatments, and boom, our sex life improved. Plus, I started taking testosterone, and I've got loads more energy.
Tell me more. Maybe it'll work for me.
The people at Tennessee Men's Clinic are low testosterone and ED specialists with multiple treatment options. It definitely helped me. And I got to tell you, now I can go the distance every time. Heather says I'm better than ever.
Hey, I'm in. What's their contact info?
You can book appointments online or just give them a call.
Great. Thanks, man. Hey, could you move away from the TV? You can't see.
Your first visit to the Tennessee Men's Clinic is only $99. Book your appointment today. Call 615-208-9090 or book online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments extra. Results vary.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah. And like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Look, Jeffrey Simmons needs to be one thing: patient. There's no ticking clock on Jeffrey Simmons right now. Titans have cap problems. They're looking at trade potential. The draft is looming. He's going to get his, but he just has to wait. They have contractual control for 2 years. It's not going to take 2 years. It probably gets done around camp time. But right now, there's too much else going on, and he's just got to wait. And that's what his agents should be telling him. And if he had better agents, they would be telling him that. He's got kid agents, at least like an uncle involved with the kid, and they're not experienced enough, and that's not, I don't think, serving him well.
Boy, I tell you, that reminds me of when Floyd and I were talking one time, and we were talking about dealing with agents, like a Rosenhaus or a Condon or one of those big-time guys, and it's like, oh, what was it like negotiating with Drew Rosenhaus? And Floyd's like, it's fine. With Drew, Drew would say, this is what I think the value of the player is, and you could try to move him a little bit, but normally he wouldn't move off. He goes, I don't mind negotiating with a Drew Rosenhaus. He goes, the guys I didn't like negotiating with were when a guy would have his uncle as his, and it's funny he would say uncle, but I guess in Simmons' case, he has his uncle as part of his team. He'd have his uncle that's representing him, and he would say, I think, and I just use Chris Sanders here as an example, I think Chris Sanders should be the highest paid receiver in the league. And it's like, no. No disrespect to Chris, but no. And not that Chris had his uncle as his representative or anything like that, but just using him as the player example that we were talking about. Floyd said, you get guys like that, all of a sudden they got their brothers negotiating for them. It's like, oh, God. And that may be the case that's happening with Simmons. So here's the deal that I think Simmons needs to listen to. And if somebody gets this out to him, like if I were to sit down with Jeffrey Simmons, I would tell him this. This is probably what you can expect that would be fair. Aaron Donald makes $30 million a year. You're not going to touch that, so don't even worry about it. Forget about it. But Chris Jones makes 20 and DeForest Buckner makes 21. So let's focus on that. For the next 3 years, the Titans can keep you and tag you and everything else for a total of $17.5 million a season. So let's try to do better than $17.5 million. And Chris Jones, again, makes $20 million, but he's probably going to sign a new deal soon. So in all fairness, we should wait until Chris Jones signs that deal. But let's say we don't want to. And it's going to be hard to make the argument that Simmons is a better player than Jones. Simmons is a 2-time Pro Bowler. Jones is a 4-time Pro Bowler and an All-Pro and a 2-time Super Bowl champion. So it's going to be a little bit harder to make that argument. But again, the number that I would set if I was advising Simmons, and he would probably get really mad at this, again, because Aaron Donald is $30 million a season, is I would say 22.5 over the next 5 years. You're going to want a 4-year deal. They're going to want a 5-year deal. You're going to have to do 5 because they've got you at 17.5 for the next 3 years. So you're going to have to give them that year. And you're going to make about $5 million more per season, and you're going to get a nice signing bonus up front. And so all those things you won't have to worry about. You'll get guaranteed money and everything else. I think you're looking at 22.5 a season, a $60 million guarantee, and a total of $112.5 million. Now, again, that's because you're doing it for 5 years. All these other guys do 4. But the $112 million would be the second highest average value for a contract behind Aaron Donald's 30. And again, no disrespect, but you're not Aaron Donald. And you're not in Aaron Donald's class. Aaron Donald is a first ballot Hall of Famer who is debated amongst Lawrence Taylor as the greatest defensive player in the modern NFL. Jeffrey Simmons is not there. He's good. He's not Aaron Donald. So forget about that. But it would be the second highest average until Chris Jones signs his next deal. It would be the second highest average value at $22.5 million in the history of the NFL. And it would be the highest total contract at $112.5 million for a defensive tackle ever. Now, again, that's because it's 5 years. Aaron Donald's deal is for 3 years. Chris Jones' deal was for 4 years. So it's a little misleading when I say it's the most money ever for a defensive tackle, but sometimes guys care about that. My guess is he probably wants a 4-year deal closer to Donald's $30 million and probably closer to Chris Jones's guarantee of $60 million over 4 years guaranteed. But again, if I'm in charge, that's just not going to happen because I've got you for $17.5 million over the next 3 years. So that I think is a fair deal. Now, if I called Ran Carthon today, and this is how negotiating works, if I was Jeffrey Simmons' agent and I was representing Simmons, I would call Ran Carthon today, and I would want to start at Aaron Donald's $30 million and work backward from there. If I called Ran Carthon and I say this is the deal I want to do, he's not going to say yes because he's going to try to negotiate it down lower, and there's no deadline to get something done or anything like that. But ultimately, I think if they have a goal, if they were to sit there and they were to tell Jeffrey Simmons right now, our end goal is $22.5 million a season on a 5-year deal with a 65, or what did I say, 65, 62, 60-something guaranteed, and $112.5 million. You get the second highest average value per season, and you'd get the highest contract in the history of defensive tackle. You like that? That would be my goal. And again, it's misleading, but all these contracts are misleading. It's nowhere near as good as either Chris Jones' current contract or his future contract or Aaron Donald's. But he's also not as good as those guys, and they don't have the leverage on those guys that they do on Jeffrey Simmons. 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, Jared, I hope you're right about Simmons, but I could see Jeff getting mad at the Titans and being very loud about it and creating negativity all around the team. The Titans would then end up having to trade him. Honestly, I don't believe Simmons would listen to what you're saying, and I could see him passing up the $10 million for next season. I don't think that'd be a very good idea. I mean, again, Le'Veon Bell, and I don't think Le'Veon Bell's very bright. Le'Veon Bell passed up $14 million. He got franchised by the Steelers, and then he got franchised again. And with running backs, the franchise tag, if you're really, really good, is somewhat low. Now, Tony Pollard probably brings the Cowboys more than $10 million in value, but the tag is what it is. And so Le'Veon Bell got tagged twice by the Steelers. And the second time, he didn't want to play on the tag. And so they negotiated and negotiated and negotiated and negotiated. And Le'Veon Bell did not show up to training camp. And Le'Veon Bell did not show up for the preseason. Now, he didn't have to do that because he was not under contract. He hadn't signed the tag. Well, once that July 15th deadline passes, you can't sign anything more than the tag. You can't sign an extension. So at that point, after July 15th, Le'Veon Bell has to play on the franchise tag. And then it was, well, he'll show up week 1. Then he'll show up Tuesday of week 1 and be ready to go. And then he didn't show up. And then, and I forget which week it was. I think it at the time was week 7. I'm sure it's changed in the collective bargaining agreement. But he had to show up by week 7 in order to be able to play that year. And he didn't show up. And so he just didn't get that 14, I think it's 14.4. He just didn't get that 14.4 million. Then the next year he signed a contract with the Jets. And he said, see, I won because I signed this contract with the Jets. Except that he could have signed that contract with the Jets anyway. If he had played for the Steelers, he could have signed that contract with the Jets. That $14.4 million represented 31% of Le'Veon Bell's career earnings. Now, I don't know how much money I'm going to make in radio when all is said and done. But at the end of the day, if I let my pride get in the way of cutting off a third of what I end up making, I'm stupid. And so, again, I know it's easy to get your pride and say, well, I'm not going to let this happen, but you have to think about it like that. And, it, you know, when Paul brings up the lack of experienced agents, that worries me. And I'm not even an agent, and I'm not even experienced. And I'm just telling you, I know what the Titans' leverage is, and I know what Simmons can expect, and I know what they can give Simmons to make it look better, and I get it. And I'm not even, in the trenches on that. And if he's got agents that don't have a clue, then that is concerning. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Speaking of Paul, apparently we have a report out there that says the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry. Then we have a report out there that says the Titans aren't shopping Derrick Henry. And Paul Kaharski absolutely just eviscerates the idea of conflicting reports, and I think he's right. And I think it makes obvious what happened on the Derrick Henry front. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now Sissons coming onto the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Al Gill here from my friends at Dunkin'. Warm up and feel the love with Dunkin'. Treat yourself and a loved one to a brown butter toffee hot or iced latte, which is superb paired with the bacon avocado tomato sandwich. Be sure to try the all-new stuffed biscuit bites. It's a warm biscuit dough wrapped around a mixture of bacon, scrambled egg, and cheddar cheese. Visit us at our newly remodeled Dunkin' on Briley Parkway in Nashville or the new Dunkin' in Mount Juliet and our other locations throughout Middle Tennessee. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from TaylorMade, featuring the Stealth 2 woods and irons. The new Stealth 2 woods combine speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness, and the new Stealth HD irons deliver high launch with draw bias to give you the confidence to expect better shots more often. Swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Jason Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You know, one thing I'll tell you guys, and you know, the agents that I have spoken to, we won't negotiate publicly. That's not what we're going to do. We're a family, and we're going to keep family business in house. And when that time comes for us to make a public announcement, one way or the other, we'll do that.
You know, it's very easy in your first rodeo to say, hey, everything stays internal. We're never going to talk to the media. We are not going to indulge in that. No, sir. Very easy to do that. I also think it's incredibly difficult when we don't know if you're in charge or not. Like, okay, well, source said with the Titans. Well, was it him or was it him? I don't know. But that's what Rand Carthon said. And then all of a sudden, Mike Silver, over the weekend, a longtime NFL reporter, put out that the Titans, according to his sources, current general managers within the league, that the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry. Now, he also added DeAndre Hopkins and Jalen Ramsey to the list of players that were being shopped. Now, we already know that Hopkins and Ramsey are on the block, so the real surprise was Henry, and the one that we care about is Derrick Henry. Then Jonathan Jones of CBS reported yesterday that his sources say the Titans are not shopping Henry. Robbie Stanley today asked Paul Kaharski when they had him on about the idea of conflicting reports, and I thought Paul completely and eloquently tore apart, and I think this is educational, actually tore apart the idea that Mike Silver's report is not right. Here's what Paul Kaharski said.
This isn't conflicting reports. Look, Mike Silver knows GMs around the league. I know Mike Silver for a long time. He's an excellent reporter. If he talked to GMs and they said that the Titans are in some way, shape, or form shopping, this is a semantics argument, shopping Derrick Henry, they absolutely, inquired. Then Jonathan Jones goes to the Titans and says, are you shopping Derrick Henry? And they say no. I mean, do we think Jonathan went to all of the GMs that Mike Silver went to unnamed and said, was Mike Silver making this up? I mean, you can't – I don't know Jonathan, but you can't undo Mike Silver's reporting-wise. But to say that they didn't, the only refuting of this you could get is to go to the Titans and say, is this true? And the Titans are never going to say it's true. They're going to deny it.
And he's right. I mean, the more you think about it, Paul's right. If you're going to have general managers across the league, tell Mike Silver, again, he said, according to his sources, all current general managers, and he at least, we know it's, one or two of 31 guys, and they're telling Mike Silver the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry, and Jonathan Jones picks up the phone and calls the Titans and says, are you shopping Derrick Henry? What do you think they're going to say? Do you think they're going to say yes? No. They're not going to say yes. They're going to say, oh, no, we're not shopping Derrick Henry. And so the only way to refute the report, as Paul accurately points out, is to go to every general manager across the league and say, hey, are the Titans shopping Derrick Henry? Are the Titans shopping Derrick Henry? Are the Titans shopping Derrick Henry? And for all of them to tell you the truth, and you have to trust that they're telling you the truth. To me, it's not conflicting report. And as Paul points out, this is where I do think the credibility and the history of Mike Silver in the league has to at least mean something.
I mean, he talked to GMs who said the Titans were, maybe shopping is too strong a word for Jonathan, but in some way, shape, or form, the Titans were dipping their toe in the water about Derrick Henry. But unquestionably, I know Mike Silver. Mike Silver is a longtime reputable reporter, and he knows people around the league. The Combine is like his kind of event. He'll be out until 4 o'clock in the morning talking to people, drinking with them. So to come back and say, no, they're not, that's almost like, when a reporter says that the Titans have signed such and such a free agent and somebody comes back and says, no, they haven't yet. The paperwork's not done, when inevitably the paperwork will be done in a day and a half.
So, Ian, you said yesterday that you believe the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry. Now that you heard Paul address the initial report and the Jonathan Jones report, do you still think they were shopping Derrick Henry?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Of course they were shopping Derrick Henry. This is what happened. And I don't know if it's Carthon who made this mistake or if it's Vrabel who made this mistake, but it is a rookie mistake. And the rookie mistake was they shopped the guy, probably wanting to see what the value would be, and that general manager turned around and used that information in order to get other information that he thought could help him. That general manager, it is information trading. That general manager, as soon as Vrabel or Carthon, and I don't know who made it, but this is really Vrabel's rookie year too when it comes to these high leverage decisions. It was a rookie mistake. The second that you ask what Derrick Henry's worth is the second that another general manager can take that information and stick it in his back pocket, and he can turn around, and as soon as he needs a little information from somebody, he can say, hey, guess what I heard? I heard that the Titans have asked us, would we be interested in trading for Derrick Henry? And now all of a sudden you've got a Derrick Henry, Titans are shopping. And that, to me, is something that they have to learn. Also, I do think it kind of gives credibility to what Paul was saying when he says, like, look, Mike Silver goes out drinking with these general managers until 4 o'clock in the morning. And he's not wrong, because I remember years ago at the Combine, this was probably 6 or 7 years ago, Mike Silver, and it was this weird, dark restaurant, and I ended up at this bar with Luke Rogers at like 2 in the morning. And I remember like every single person from NFL that covers the NFL was there. And I probably met like 20 people that night. And I remember posted up at the bar was Mike Silver of the NFL Network and Jay Gruden, the current coach at the time of Washington. And they were up there, and about a couple weeks later, there was a report that came out that San Francisco was interested in dealing for Kirk Cousins. This was when Kirk Cousins was still at Washington. And Ian Rappaport quote tweeted it and said, well, Mike would know. And I knew exactly what he was talking about because I was there. So I wouldn't put his business out there like Paul did, but I don't think Paul's wrong because I've seen what he's talking about. So I totally think the Titans were shopping Derrick Henry. And I totally think that this is a rookie lesson that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have to learn that, hey, man, if you're going to go up there and try to get the value of your players, those general managers are going to turn around and use that as soon as they can. They are going to use that against you in a court of law. And that's exactly what happened. Now, here's the good news about that rookie mistake from either Rand Carthon or Mike Vrabel. I don't think Derrick Henry's going to care. Again, I think Derrick Henry kind of gets it, unlike some other players that don't really see the big picture or don't understand the leverage or don't know how the league works. I mean, I think Derrick Henry gets the business element of the NFL. And so if someone were to come up to him and say, you know, hey, the Titans were shopping you or they were looking, I think Derrick would say, yep, that's how this league works. Whereas I think other players would be like, how dare they do that after all I have done for this organization? How dare they shop me? How disrespectful that is. I don't think Derrick Henry's going to do that. I think 90% of players in the league would feel that way. I don't think Derrick would. You know, Christian McCaffrey came out and said, I guess he must have said this at the Super Bowl maybe. Christian McCaffrey said he was mad at the Panthers when he got traded to the 49ers because the Panthers told him they weren't going to trade him, and then they did. And I'm thinking, dude, you wanted to stay on the Panthers? But it's that pride element of, you traded me and you said you wouldn't, and I was disrespected, and I just don't think Derrick Henry gets caught up in that. I think Derrick Henry understands the business of it, and it doesn't move him one way or another. Will is up next. 615-737-1025. What's up, Will?
Hey, man. Good show. Love listening to you guys. Got another angle on this Derrick Henry thing. What is it to keep a general manager or a couple general managers from just lying? And maybe the Titans never did offer up Derrick Henry, and they're just making that up to help their position for whatever reason in terms of.
But why would they make this up? The Titans are not a move the needle franchise. To sit there and say, oh, well, what if Brian Gutekunst is just chucking the Titans under the bus for no reason? I mean, that's a really, you got to go out of your way to be like, no. Thank you for calling, Will. You have to really go out of your way to be like, no, that guy is lying. Not that he's lying about what he was told, but the general managers who told him that were lying to him when they told him. You know what I mean? It's really, really far-fetched. And the other thing about this league, and when you say things or report them or things like that, you got to know who you can trust and you got to know who you can't trust. And you got to know if you're going to say something that, hey, no, I know. Like I said something earlier today on the show where I feel 99% is 100% the truth. 99% is 100%. I think 100% is the truth. And I think it's one of those things where, look, I think the Titans were shopping him. Just like Ian said, yeah, they probably were. And it's okay. Vrabel or Rand Carthon made a mistake. That's what happened. 615-737-1025. I think Derrick Henry is a very understanding person. And like I said, I think he gets the business of the NFL. But I think there is one thing that if the Titans ask Derrick Henry to do, not only will he be offended by it, but I think I will too. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company. Hey, join 1025 The Game live from the Rusty Nail on Friday, March 17th for the opening round of the tournament. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts while watching some hoops during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. The Rusty Nail is located in Hermitage and provides a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's 1025 The Game live at the Rusty Nail at 4054 Andrew Jackson Way in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th. Doors open at 10 a.m.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
Three ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
1025 and 1063 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game.
The Electronic Express tax refund sale is extended. Get up to 50% off doorbusters and 40% off in every department, including 4K TVs, computers, gaming consoles, Bluetooth speakers, smartwatches, and more. Refresh your kitchen with appliances in stock and ready to deliver. And buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Pierce the Veil and The Used together in one night. Creative Control Tour. May 31st at Nashville Municipal Auditorium with special guests John Bracco and Death by Romo. Tickets on sale this Friday 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Don't miss Pierce the Veil and The Used live.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Tannehill was on my list for potential cap casualties. Derek was not, but it sounds to me like he's tradable. But I wonder if they can't get him traded, are they just going to keep him? I don't believe they'd just release him. I don't know what you think he's worth. We can get into that potential. But I wrote down next to his name, Atlanta, Miami, Buffalo, Giants if they lose Saquon, Philly. They have Sanders is out of contract, Chicago, Carolina, New Orleans. There's a bunch of teams that would probably really like to have him. So we'll see what transpires with that. Because to me, he is a tradable piece. You got a contract on the guy, and there's a lot of teams that love to run the ball better than they run it.
There you go. That was Pat Kerwin on SiriusXM NFL Radio saying, hey, I think there's a lot of teams out there that want to run the ball better than they run it, and Derrick Henry can run the ball. And so, again, the consensus is the Titans were, in fact, shopping Derrick Henry. And if they were shopping Derrick Henry last week, it probably means that their opinion hasn't changed. Now, here's one thing that I will say is not going to happen, and that is the idea of Derrick Henry taking a pay cut. Now, something that we used to talk about a lot with Floyd was he would call guys in and say, hey, we need you to take a pay cut. And if the guy said no, he was probably going to release the player or trade the player. Now, Jarrell Casey got traded for a 7th-round pick. And it came out that the reason he got traded for a 7th-round pick was because his $10 million or whatever it was he was owed would guarantee on the 3rd day or the 6th day of the league year. And so the Titans traded Jarrell Casey, and Floyd said they probably told him, like, hey, we need you to take a pay cut. And Jarrell Casey was probably like, I'm not going to take a pay cut. And so they traded him. And the other option, if they didn't get a 7th for him, was going to be that they were going to cut him. And I get it. So they asked Pat Kerwin, again, Pat Kerwin on NFL radio, he has been, a league executive. He's been doing this for a long time. And he was asked about the idea of Derrick Henry taking a pay cut. Here's what he said.
He might say no to that. This is a guy that, this is not like Leonard Fournette, and no disrespect to Leonard, but this is the premier big back in the NFL, and he's not 30 years old yet, so I think someone would be interested. I think the profile is, we're a really good team, but we don't run the ball very well. That team, whoever that team is, or we're a really good team, we're going to lose our running back in free agency. That might be another place for Derrick. So very interesting. Or finally, I've already coached Derrick. Yeah, we want him. But it'll be one of those kind of teams, I think, that would fit the profile.
So he's talking about, no, he's not going to take a pay cut. And when I hear the idea of Derrick Henry taking a pay cut when he's due $10.5 million next season, I think, don't offend me with that. I mean, seriously, you're going to ask Derrick Henry, who was 2nd in the NFL in rushing last year, to take a pay cut off of $10.5 million? The franchise tag for a running back is 10.1. And I heard this yesterday, too, that if the Titans, and I should have looked this up on Monday when this story came out, but if the Titans trade Derrick Henry, guess how much money they save against the phony cap? $6 million. I could make $6 million appear on your cap in 5 seconds. All you got to do is take a guy's base salary. Just take Kevin Byard's base salary or take Harold Landry's base salary and convert part of it to a signing bonus, and you spread out that cap hit over the next couple of years, and you've got your money. You don't need to trade Derrick Henry for that. Now, doing that and opening up that $6 million in cap space does not eliminate the $10.5 million salary that the Titans will be paying Derrick Henry, but I mean, it is ridiculous. When I hear about Tannehill and Henry and I hear about their contracts and the idea of them taking pay cuts, I am offended for them. Geno Smith just signed for $35 million a year. Derek Carr just signed for essentially $30 million a year with an extra 10 guaranteed at the back end over the 2 years. So really $35 million for Geno, $35 million for Derek. They're not better than Tannehill at $27 million next year. And I hear people say things like, maybe the Titans could get Tannehill to take a pay cut. Screw you. I'm not taking a pay cut off $27 million when Derek Carr, who stinks and who is not better than me, is getting 35. And you shouldn't. And if I'm Derrick Henry, I'm 2nd in the league in rushing. I'm the best player on your team. I'm making $10.5 million. I'm not taking a pay cut. So don't even ask. Don't bother those guys. Texter says, Jared, are you more concerned about the Titans' 2-year plan or the 5-year plan? I am leaning towards the 5-year plan. Derek is a 2-year plan. Jeff is the 5-year plan. Let me say this about the NFL. When does a team ever have a 5-year plan? When does a GM or a coach ever get a 5-year plan? I don't think there's one team in the league that has a 5-year plan. Nathaniel Hackett got fired after like 15 games. This idea of, 5-year plan, this is not one of these other sports like baseball where we can just tank the whole season for the next 3 years while our guys develop at AA. This is the NFL. If you don't win, you get fired. I want you all to know, if Mike Vrabel does not win this season, and he is as surly as he is when they lose, and he is as obnoxious as he can be, he's going to get fired because it's going to piss people off. And they're trying to sell PSLs for a new stadium. And that's not going to sit well if Mike Vrabel loses 3 in a row to start the season to make it 10 in a row when you use the 7 from last year, and he's sitting there getting into a fight with Paul Kaharski about nothing after the game. You're going to look like an idiot. So this idea of a 5-year plan, who the hell has a 5-year plan? Is there any team in the league right now that is thinking about 5 years from now? Nick Caserio of the Texans, if they don't demonstrate progress this year, probably gets fired. So who is out there that can have a 5-year plan? You think the Chicago Bears have a 5-year plan? A, they're terrible. B, they spend no money. And C, they're building a new stadium out in the suburbs of Chicago in which they're going to own all of it, and they're going to make just tons of money. You think Matt Eberflus can be picking number 1 again next year? Nope. Don't tell me about 5-year plan. Titans don't have a 5-year plan. Nobody has a 5-year plan. 5-year plan. That one gets me. 5-year plan. I don't have a 5-year plan. The Titans having a 5-year plan. I mean, I don't even think in baseball they have 5-year plans. And that's the sport where you get 6 years or whatever until free agency. The NBA, they don't have 5-year plans. The NBA, if you make your star player mad, he demands a trade, you're screwed. 5-year plan. Oh, goodness gracious. The same texter followed up and said, I'm talking about ownership and building the stadium. Yeah, I don't think that that's how this league works. I don't think you can try to be bad for a certain time so that you can be good later. I mean, I don't think, again, like who's good in the AFC right now? And I mean like good. Like let's say like clearly, absolutely, positively better than you. 3 teams, right? Buffalo, Kansas City, Cincinnati.
Those for sure.
I mean, are you sure the Chargers are better than you?
Not necessarily.
Are you sure the Jags are better than you?
No.
Are you sure that the Ravens or the Dolphins are better than you?
The Dolphins maybe. The Ravens.
I'm not a big Dolphin guy.
Yeah, the Ravens maybe with Lamar.
Again, like going back to
not crazy
that,
bigger.
I mean, all of these teams, it's not like the Bengals tried to be bad. The Bengals thought they were going to have a good team, and then A.J. Green got hurt, and they happened to stink. Floyd bet me $100 that they were going to win more than 6 games that year, that they ended up picking number 1. So it's not like that these teams, they lucked into that. Kansas City didn't have a 5-year plan. They had a 2-year plan. We're going to draft Patrick Mahomes. We're going to sit him on the bench, and then he's going to start next year. That's it. Nobody has 5-year plans in the NFL, not even owners. Going to be bad for 5 years. You better hope the year that you stink the worst out of everybody is the year that the great quarterback is available, or that your guys at developing quarterbacks are so good and your executives are so smart when it comes to finding these guys that they'll be able to spot the real gem in the draft, that they'll know that even though Josh Allen is the 3rd quarterback picked in the 2018 draft, that he ends up being the best quarterback picked in the 2018 draft. And quite frankly, if you stink that bad, you can't have that good of executives that look out that far in advance because your guys stink. So it's really hard to plan for those kind of things. I mean, I don't even know who's going to be good in 5 years in the NFL. Do you know who's going to be good in 5 years? I mean, I guess if Burrow's in Cincinnati, I feel pretty good about that.
Mahomes, probably okay.
Mahomes is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's talk about the Bills for a second. The Bills regressed last year at the end of the season. The Bills have holes on defense. The Bills lost Brian Daboll, and Josh Allen, I think, took a step back and turned the ball over way too much, especially at the end of this season. They almost lost to the Dolphins with a 7th-round nobody playing quarterback in the playoffs. So I don't know what the Bills are going to be like in 5 years. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Everybody said Lamar Jackson was a genius. Well, right now, the proof seems to be in the pudding, and it ain't pretty. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. While supplies last, see store for details.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
There's no guarantee that Aaron Rodgers is going to play beyond 1 year, which when we were at the Super Bowl, former GMs Thomas Dimitroff and Mike Lombardi came on the show, and they said, well, we got to know that Rodgers is going to want to do this for more than 1 year. And I agree. So if not Tannehill, then who? Those are your options. Trade up. Are these quarterbacks that good? Sign Carr or Garoppolo, in which you'd have to compete with other teams. And I don't think those guys are as good as Tannehill. Or try to win the Aaron Rodgers lottery and hope all the if this happens, if that happens, if Aaron wants to come here, if the Packers are willing to trade you at a fair price, if Vrabel wants to deal with Rodgers. And that's a lot of ifs. So I agree. I do think Tannehill should be the starting quarterback next year.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now, your Game Center update.
The NFL talk is still all about quarterback Lamar Jackson and his future contract. ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck joined Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace this afternoon and shared his thoughts on the situation.
I think that he'll be a Raven. I thought that the Ravens would apply the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar because what appears to be going on, at least to me, is that, look, Lamar wants, certain guarantees in his contract, at a level that probably resets the market. The Ravens are in a position where they're like, look, we're not going to do that. Like, we'll sign you to a starting quarterback deal and give you a bunch of money guaranteed and all that, but we're not going to reset the market, and have it be all fully guaranteed.
Round 1 of the SEC basketball tournament tips off tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Ole Miss will take on South Carolina at 6 with LSU versus Georgia to follow. Both the Vols and Vandy are in action on Thursday. Tennessee will play the winner of Ole Miss and South Carolina, and Vanderbilt will take on the winner of LSU and Georgia. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mace.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Cranks it, he scores!
On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company. There we go. Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. So I have to address a text, Ian, before we get into
Please do.
this Lamar
Yes.
Jackson agent discussion here for a second. But I have to. This comes from Ray. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. This comes from Ray. He says no GM or coach or player or fan thinks Ryan Tannehill is better than Derek Carr. Stop it. You did the same thing with Mariota. Oh, boy. Don't make me pull it out. Don't make me pull it out. Over the career, Ryan Tannehill has a better record than Derek Carr, 78-65 to 63-79. Carr has a better completion percentage, 64.6 to 64.3. Not exactly a big difference there. Tannehill has the better rating, 91.9 to 91.8. Carr actually has the better touchdown to interception ratio. Tannehill, better yards per attempt. Tannehill's also made the playoffs more and won more playoff games. Since 2020, Tannehill has a better record. So we're talking over the last 3 years. Tannehill has a better record. He has a better completion percentage. He has a better rating. He has a better touchdown to interception ratio. And he's been to the playoffs more than Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr does have Tannehill beat in yards per attempt, 7.6 to 7.5. Last year, in a year in which Tannehill lost A.J. Brown and Carr gained Devontae Adams, Tannehill had a better record. He had a better completion percentage. He had a better quarterback rating. He had a better touchdown to interception ratio and more yards per attempt. I don't think there's an argument out there for Derek Carr is better than Ryan Tannehill, unless you just want to say Tannehill's been on better teams. But I'm not sure that's true. Because, again, Tannehill wasn't throwing the ball to Devontae Adams and Darren Waller last year. In fact, I went over their careers with Vegas and Cincinnati between Derek Carr and Andy Dalton. The Saints are paying Derek Carr $35 million. They paid Andy Dalton $3 million last season. Andy Dalton had a better record. Andy Dalton had a better completion percentage. Andy Dalton had a better quarterback rating. Andy Dalton had a better touchdown to interception ratio. And again, he made 10 times less than Derek Carr is about to make with the Saints. And Andy Dalton was throwing the ball to Chris Olave and Jawan Johnson, the guys that Derek Carr is going to have to throw to coming up. Derek Carr, again, was throwing to Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. Don't tell me that nobody thinks that Tannehill is better than Carr. Tannehill is better than Carr. That's going to be a triggering point for me if this ever gets brought up ever again. But I had to address that.
At least you have the stats in your back pocket just in case.
So years ago, Lamar Jackson decided he wasn't going to have an agent. What do I need an agent for? What do I need to pay 1, 3, 2, whatever percent? Why do I need an agent? I can do all this myself. That's what Lamar Jackson said. Now, the thing that drives me crazy is how people out there seem to think that they can do everybody else's job. I don't think I can play quarterback for the Titans, and I don't think you would want me to play quarterback for the Titans. I also don't think I could coach the Titans, and I don't think I would be a very effective general manager. Maybe I could learn, but deep down inside, that's not what I do. I can't look at an offensive guard and tell you where his hip placement is and whether or not that means that he's a good fit for this run scheme. I just don't know it. That's not what I do. But I know how to run a radio program. Lamar Jackson's a great football player. He's a terrible agent. And it's time for Lamar to get that figured out. Kimberly Martin this morning on ESPN, and she was the most insightful person at the table. They had like 6 former players and Kimberly Martin, and she said, just talking to people around the league, the fact that Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent is a problem.
Everyone at the combine I spoke to mentioned the issue with Lamar not having an agent is a big one.
Why?
Because an agent will go out there and ascertain who wants you and how much do they want you. They can do that work. So here's the thing. Lamar's looking at, let's say he wants 231 because Deshaun Watson got 230. Well, the Browns situation is not the same as the Ravens. The Browns have an owner in Jimmy Haslam who literally said, get me that guy. I want Deshaun Watson, come hell or high water. Well, we saw $230 million is what he got. If Lamar Jackson has an agent to go out there and say, is there another owner out there outside of Steve Bisciotti that wants my guy? Does he want to give? Is there another owner who is willing to give $230? And if not, that severely hampers Lamar's negotiating strategy in that sense. So I think that not having an agent has really been an issue because Lamar may have miscalculated the market out there for him.
Shocking. Lamar Jackson, who's not an agent, who has no experience being an agent, has screwed up representing himself. Shocking. And it's not just that. It's not just the missed market. It's not just misreading reality in the NFL, which Lamar Jackson has done. But Mike Florio wrote an article at Pro Football Talk today that said that when Lamar Jackson slid in the draft in 2018, part of that was because he didn't have an agent who understood the process that was getting teams to see the best side of Lamar. And now, over the last couple of years, Lamar's wanted a contract. The Ravens have been trying to work a contract, and yet it doesn't seem like Lamar is handling that effectively. Feels like, oh, no, we'll wait to discuss. And I just want to go over the numbers here. And I understand the idea of why should I pay an agent 1%? If Lamar Jackson signs for $250 million, 1% of that, 1% is $2.5 million. Is it worth it? I would say it is. Over the last 2 years, both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were drafted in the first round of 2018. And while Josh Allen has had more playoff success and is a better passer than Lamar Jackson's won a league MVP. So I would say after year 3, in which Lamar had a league MVP and Josh Allen had taken the Bills to the AFC Championship game, they were kind of both in the same spot, which was you looked at them and you thought they were franchise guys. And that is when teams, Buffalo in the case of Allen, Baltimore in the case of Lamar, were able to negotiate a contract extension. Buffalo got a deal done with Josh Allen. He makes $43.5 million a season. Baltimore was not able to get a deal done, obviously, with Lamar Jackson. And while Josh Allen might be the sucker because he's paid his agent, let's say 3%, he's made $67 million over the last 2 years. Over the same time frame, Lamar Jackson has made $24.7 million. 3% of $67 million is what? $2 million? So Josh Allen has given his agent $2 million and has made $67 million over the last 2 years. And I'm talking about cash in his pocket. $67 million over the same time frame. Lamar Jackson has made 24. Does anybody else understand how stupid that is? And now because they've used the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar, because they don't think Lamar Jackson is going to be able to find a contract that he deems suitable, he's only going to get $32.8 million this year. That's it. Josh Allen, and again, the way this works, AJ, I think, is making $25 million a year. AJ is going to get $12 million in cash this upcoming season from Philadelphia because Philadelphia gave AJ so much money up front. Josh Allen is still going to make $30 million in cash. So by the end of the year, Josh Allen will have made $97 million in cash. And let's say Lamar plays at that 30, is it 32.5 or 35.2? I think it's 32.5.
I think it's 32 something, yep.
Yeah, let's say Lamar plays at that 32. We're talking about $56 million. Josh Allen will have almost doubled the amount of money, and I'm talking cash in the pocket, over the last 3 years that Lamar Jackson has made. Dude, get an agent. That's their jobs. And I know some agents stink, just like some doctors stink, just like some radio hosts stink, just like some quarterbacks stink, just like some coaches stink, just like some restaurants stink. I get it. But I am telling you that an agent that knows what they're doing, that agent is worth the money. And these players think like, oh, no, I can do it. Why? You've never trained a day in your life at negotiating with the NFL. Do you think Lamar Jackson has read the collective bargaining agreement? I know Lamar Jackson hasn't been to law school. You think Lamar Jackson's ever been in a high-level negotiation and come out on top? You know the answer to this. It's crazy that he doesn't have an agent. That's like these people that get sick. Oh, I'll take care of it. No, you need to go to the hospital. People train for what they do for a living. Again, some are really good and some are really bad. But if you're Lamar Jackson, you are not an agent. In fact, you are as much of an agent as I am a chef. And I'm not Emeril Lagasse over here. So when I see this stuff and, the money, to me, the numbers, to me, it's irrefutable. And not even the side stuff, like Lamar at the combine, if he had an agent, all the teams would be talking to the agent And he would say, hey, would you be interested in this kind of contract if they, even though it's tampering, you know what happens, would you be interested in this kind of contract if this were to happen? And I think not only that, I think not having an agent scares off teams because it's like, well, if we have to deal with Lamar directly, he doesn't have a clue what's going on here. And so do we really want to have to deal with that? Give away 2 first-round picks, and then when something goes wrong, or then when we have to renegotiate something, or then when we have to deal with Lamar. And he doesn't have a clue. And we don't want to deal with that. I mean, Lamar is doing himself no favors by not having an agent. And it's ridiculous. Again, by the next 3 years, he and Josh Allen drafted in the same class. Josh Allen will have made $97 million in cash. Lamar will have made 56. That is not even close. I wonder what the cash Kyler Murray will have made. Ian, didn't we find out that Geno Smith's going to make $52 million this year in cash?
I believe, was it 52 this year or 52 the first 2 years? Something like that. I think it might
be 52 the first year.
Yeah, it was a lot.
I could be wrong.
I'll double check.
If that's the case, Lamar should be embarrassed that Geno Smith is making more cash than he is. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. The other thing on the Lamar Jackson front, and this I beg of ESPN, I beg them. We'll get to that coming up next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Magnon all the way to the rim.
The Commodores look to continue their winning ways in the SEC tournament. What can SEC Co-Coach of the Year Jerry Stackhouse and his team accomplish? Catch all the action on your home for the Commodores. 93.3 Classic Hits. And right here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Willie Donick here for Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. The official 2022 stats are in, and the Pella brand is rated #1 by Nashville homeowners for windows and doors. One reason, Nashville homeowners selected Pella Windows #1 for the highest quality craftsmanship. Another key stat, Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville is also rated #1 for the brand that stands behind their product. If you need new doors or windows, the choice is clear. Choose the experts at Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Go to PellaofNashville.com.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Teron Davenport here for Superbook Sports. Make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports. Just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, Superbook features some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. So download the Superbook Sports app or visit Superbook.com and start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
If you've experienced a concussion, the injury can result in temporary chemical changes inside the brain that can cause it to function improperly. The signs and symptoms may occur immediately or take several days to appear. The experienced doctors at Houston Clinic Orthopedics can diagnose your concussion and get you feeling back to normal with therapy and rehabilitative exercises. If you experience head injury signs such as headache, dizziness, nausea, sensitivity, ringing in ears, or problems with memory, balance, vision, or concentration, visit tn.houston.com to learn more and to book an appointment. Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
Some brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Well, the NFL is dead wrong with what they're doing with Lamar Jackson now, because there is no other plausible explanation why a 26-year-old MVP quarterback that's won a road playoff game and is fourth in wins since he's come into the league, who's had his team in the playoffs 4 of the 5 seasons he's been a starter, can't get the guarantees that Deshaun Watson got in his contract. There is no explanation for it other than collusion. There is no plausible explanation.
There are other explanations. I agree with you. Here's the thing. I agree with you, but here's the
There's no plausible explanation when you start to see the reaction of all the other teams within hours of the Ravens making the announcement that they're going to tag.
There is no explanation other than the explanation that I believe as to why Lamar Jackson, who's only won 1 playoff game, did not get a fully guaranteed contract. When Josh Allen doesn't have a fully guaranteed contract, when Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a fully guaranteed contract, when Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a fully guaranteed contract, when Russell Wilson doesn't have a fully guaranteed contract, when Tom Brady's never had a fully guaranteed contract, Peyton Manning didn't have a fully guaranteed contract. So there's only one explanation, and it's collusion. That was Chris Canty this morning. Let me tell you something. Normally, I don't tell the NFL what to do. And I don't like all the heavy-handedness sometimes. If I'm the NFL, after watching television today on ESPN, I'd call ESPN and say, stop putting these former players on to talk about contracts, because they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. Chris Canty was talking about, it's got to be collusion. And then he got all mad. Listen to this cut where he got all mad and said that this proves that the league doesn't want to guarantee contracts.
That don't pass the smell test to me at all. And that's the part where style of play and injury history, I throw that all to the wayside. You know why? Because we've seen players in the past with injuries get huge contracts. Dak Prescott, coming off of a major ankle injury, got a $160 million contract.
Didn't play in 2 years.
With 126 guaranteed. Deshaun Watson missed a full season due to injury, and he missed a full season because of off-the-field issues. Didn't stop him from getting a fully guaranteed contract. We've seen it over and over again. Teams that are desperate enough will make that play. And the fact that all of these owners from these quarterback star teams that are in quarterback hell, decided not to go after Lamar Jackson, this is bigger than just sending a message to the player. This is sending a message to everybody in the National Football League that owners are drawing that figurative line in the sand with guaranteed contracts.
Well, no, duh. No, duh. Yeah, the NFL saying we don't want to guarantee contracts. Duh. Of course they don't want to start guaranteeing contracts. Why would you want to do that? Secondly, the other thing about this, and they got to get this Chris Canty off TV. This guy, he doesn't know anything. He's sitting there talking about how Deshaun Watson missed 2 seasons. No, he didn't. He missed 1. And it wasn't injuries, and it wasn't off the field issues. It was that he didn't want to play for the Texans. It wasn't injuries. So, no, I mean, Deshaun Watson did not miss 2 seasons. Deshaun Watson missed 1 season in which he was inactive every game. Had nothing to do with injury. So I don't know where he gets that from. Secondly, he brings up, well, Dak Prescott broke his ankle and he got $126 million guaranteed. And guess what? If the Ravens could give Lamar Jackson Dak Prescott's contract, which I believe is $40 million a season, might be like 41, 42, something like that. If they could give him Dak Prescott's contract and guarantee him $120 million a year, they would. Excuse me, $120 million total, they would. I don't know how they put these guys on TV. They don't have a clue. They don't know the rules. And they just get on TV. And I go back to Monday. Because on Monday, Jeremy Fowler was on the desk and he was talking about how he was reporting on ESPN about how they were considering using the franchise tag on Lamar that was the non-exclusive franchise tag that would allow somebody else to sign him. And Jeremy Fowler basically got yelled off the set by Dan Orlovsky and Damian Woody. Again, 2 former players that literally do not understand how this works. Let's start with Dan Orlovsky.
Since they've drafted him, Kyler Murray got $190 million guaranteed. Deshaun Watson, coming off of awful off-the-field allegations, got $230+ million guaranteed from the Cleveland Browns. And Tua Tagovailoa got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen got Stephon Diggs. Lamar Jackson's going to get the non-exclusive franchise tag, and they drafted Rashad Bateman? What? How can Lamar sit there and be okay with that situation? How can Lamar see what's going on with his peers? And I can make the argument with people who haven't accomplished some of the stuff that he's done and be okay with it. There's no way that the Ravens could sit there and think that he's just going to sit pat and be okay with that decision.
What does Rashad Bateman have to do with the non-exclusive franchise tag? I mean, he's sitting here saying, Kyler Murray got all this money. Yeah, because Kyler Murray signed a contract. And again, if they could give Lamar Jackson Kyler Murray's contract, they would. I don't understand what this has to do with any of that. How can Lamar Jackson be okay with the fact that these other guys got money and it seems like Lamar's not okay. Unfortunately, for him, these are the rules. This is the collective bargaining agreement that his union negotiated on his behalf. Now, he doesn't have an agent. He has the Players Association that is representing him. So that same Players Association agreed to these rules. And now you got guys on TV being like, how can they do this when Josh Allen is getting Stephon Diggs and all he's getting is Rashad Bateman? What does that have to do with the difference between the exclusive or non-exclusive franchise tag? It doesn't have anything to do with that. And then Damian Woody, listen to Jeremy Fowler try to explain how this works. I feel bad for Jeremy Fowler because Damian Woody was talking, and again, this was Monday, and they were talking about whether or not they were going to use the non-exclusive tag, and Damian Woody decided that if they use the tag on Lamar, the non-exclusive tag, he's as good as gone, even though, as Fowler tries to point out, the Ravens can match any contract. Take a listen.
If they slap the non-exclusive, basically what they're saying is, okay, Lamar, test the market, see what kind of contract you come up with, because obviously we can't come into agreement. We can't come into agreement on the contract. So if Lamar Jackson gets that non-exclusive, to me, he is good as gone from Baltimore.
But see, if another team makes an offer, the Ravens can match it, and then he's there for 5 years.
I don't think
there's no way around that, because the Ravens thinking, if they do this, now again, no firm decision, but if they go non-exclusive, they are saying, look, we've had a hard time negotiating with you and finding middle ground for the better part of the last 18 months. Here's your chance to get a deal that you think you're worth from another team. And then if we agree that you're worth that, we're going to match it. And then everybody's happy. If not, we take our first.
Jeremy, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. If Baltimore slapped that non-exclusive, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a team like Dan just said, Atlanta. Yeah. They're going to blow the doors off of the Ravens as far as what type of contract they'll put together. You don't think Arthur Blank, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, is desperate to get a quarterback? He was in on the Deshaun Watson.
They thought they had
Deshaun Watson situation.
Yeah.
And again, these guys don't know anything. Yeah, they thought they had Deshaun Watson, and then Cleveland offered a fully guaranteed contract, and Atlanta said no. I saw Pac-Man, and I love Pac-Man, but I saw Pac-Man said on Pat McAfee today, he's like, how could Atlanta be all in on Deshaun Watson and then not be interested in Lamar? And I'm like, they weren't all in on Deshaun Watson. The second that they were told, hey, Cleveland's offering a fully guaranteed contract, would you be interested in that? They were all out on Deshaun Watson. They were like, nah, we're going to go with Mariota instead. So now you think that they're not going to do the same thing again? I mean, please get these former players that don't know anything off of TV. I don't mind them talking about, what happened on this interception that was thrown, but they do not know contracts. They do not know how the CBA works. And it's like every single one of them. It's like, oh no, Lamar deserves a fully guaranteed contract because the Ravens have only drafted him Rashad Bateman. That has nothing to do with this.
It's like they
Damian Woody.
Take the personal side out of it as a player, right? They're like flashing back to when they were playing. And they're like, oh, how offensive would that be if my team did that to me and I'm supposed to be the starting quarterback and they want to put the tag on me and not believe in me and give me the deal. So these guys, it's like they're putting themselves in Lamar's shoes like that, and they can't separate that part. It almost feels like,
I wonder if one of the hardest parts of being an agent in the NFL is getting your client to realize realistic expectations. Like we talked about the Simmons contract. And about how, I laid out what Simmons is, the Titans have Simmons rights for the next 3 years at $17.5 million per year. And so Simmons can take down whatever post on social media he wants, or he can bitch to The Athletic about how he thought about not showing up. He can't do it. The rules state that he can't hold out. So, we have to start there and try to see if we can negotiate a better deal. Now, you're going to want to negotiate a 4-year deal, but they're probably going to want a 5-year deal because they've already got you for the next 3. So you got to understand that. And you're probably not going to get more than Chris Jones, and you're not going to get more than Aaron Donald, but we can fudge it a little bit to make it look good, and you'll still get $65 million guaranteed, and you'll still sign a contract that is the highest total value of any defensive tackle ever, and that'll look good, and it'll look like we're not disrespecting you, but there's no way you can get anywhere near $30 million a year. You're looking at 22.5. And when Chris Jones signs his next deal at 24, 25, or something like that, you're going to think that you belong there, and you don't. And the Titans have you, and I just wonder if you sat down with Simmons and you told him, here's the deal you're looking at. You're looking at $22.5 million a year, 65 guaranteed, 112 overall, and I hope we get it. And he's sitting there saying, wait a minute, didn't Aaron Donald just get $90 million guaranteed? Yes, but you're not Aaron Donald. And I think it would be a hard deal to be an agent and be having that discussion, worried that the player is going to be like, well, screw you, you're fired. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm just trying to tell you how this is going to go. But I don't know, not my business. Fitz is going to join us next. Fitz said last week that 100% Lamar was going to get a contract if they put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. What's he think now? Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like Corolla Cross, the first ever Corolla SUV, or the best-selling Toyota Camry, now available with all-wheel drive. And you can get 3.99 APR financing on a new 23 Camry, now through April 4th. With approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD and hybrids. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, March 8th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Join 102.5 The Game live from the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th.
And the three is good.
Take in the first round of games during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts all month long during the tournament.
Yes! What a shot!
Plus a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts. There's also great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's Friday, March 17th at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage. Doors open at 10.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
It got feisty last week on the Stillman and Company program when Jason Fitz joined us, specifically over Lamar Jackson, which I wasn't planning to talk about when it happened, but we got into it about whether or not if Lamar got the non-exclusive franchise tag, if a team would give Lamar his fully guaranteed contract. So far, it does not look that way. All the former players on TV are screaming about collusion, which I'm not sure makes a lot of sense. I think it's common sense, but I know Fitz doesn't feel that way, so he joins us now in the program. So, Fitz, are you willing to admit that I was right last week, or do we have to give it more time?
No, we got to give it more time, but I don't buy the collusion argument, and I'll say that loudly. I talked to, 4 different people I think I really respect around the league yesterday. I talked to 2 different teams last night. And there are some teams that are out for different reasons. It's not like the owner sat there and said, we won't give the guaranteed money. There are certainly teams that don't feel like they're in a spot that makes it worth it. But the other side of this, I talked to an agent buddy of mine last night who pointed this out quickly. When you don't have an agent to counter the rumors that are out there, all of this is a bit of fear-mongering. Like, if you can spread the message, nobody's going to do it, can you lower the demand of what Lamar wants in an attempt to get him to sign for less? So I still think we are days away from getting any real resolution. This makes good business sense for teams. But the number one thing I will say that really hit me from one of our insiders that I do think is a valid point is that the league insiders right now do not believe that Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert's going to ask for guaranteed. So the question is, if Herbert and Burrow aren't going to ask for guarantees, Mahomes and Allen don't have that level of guarantees, can somebody convince Lamar that that's a reason why he shouldn't get fully guaranteed? And that's what we don't know the answer to. But no, we won't know until Tuesday or Wednesday at best.
So here's my thing: if the NFL players decide we want guaranteed contracts and we're going to stick it to the owners, somebody's going to have to stick it to an owner to, basically metaphorically put the knife to his neck and say, hey, you got to give me the deal. If you're going to do that, Lamar Jackson's not a good enough player to be able to do that. That's my biggest takeaway on it. He's won 1 playoff game. He's a good player. He's not an elite, franchise-altering, Super Bowl-winning kind of player. I mean, Joe Burrow's won 5 playoff games. Lamar's won 1. Patrick Mahomes has won 11. He's just not that good. And if I'm the Ravens...
Yeah, and this is where we wildly disagree. I think Lamar's the top 5 quarterback in the AFC and gives you a chance to compete against almost any team, and I don't care about playoffs.
A top 5 quarterback in the AFC.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Burrow, Mahomes, Allen.
Right, Burrow, Mahomes,
Herbert.
Allen. I put Lamar on... I think I would take... I mean, if you're going to talk about playoff performance, by the way, what has Justin Herbert done with better weapons that makes him a better player than Lamar Jackson? Nothing. I mean, if we're talking about – this is why I think playoff wins, by the way, are such an arbitrary and stupid metric when we start talking about quarterbacks. It takes 53 guys on a roster to win a playoff game. Great teams have lost classic playoff games. Great quarterbacks have been robbed of the opportunity to win Super Bowls. Like, one man cannot win an NFL game. This is not the NBA. So
I know,
really
but at some
don't
point,
care
don't you
that
have to
much.
win more than 1?
I mean, how many opportunities have you had? And then realistically, how good was your team against the other team? Right.
He's been in the playoffs 3 times. And if he would have stayed healthy this year, which is another reason why not to sign him, because he's only played 12 games each of the last 2 years, it would have been 4 times that he would have had a crack at it.
But, I mean, ultimately, that's 3 games. So I'm supposed to outweigh a unanimous MVP season and a team that has a huge winning percentage with him on the field based on 3 playoff games? I'm not going to do that.
I have to say, can you win in the games that matter? Can you do it? And the only game that Lamar Jackson won was when they scored 20 points against that terrible Titans defense in 2020. And Tannehill and A.J. Brown played well. Tannehill played like crap, and they lost. That's the only one. Congratulations, you beat Tannehill, who, by the way, has also beaten you in the playoffs.
Again, so show me the great Justin Herbert playoff win, and he's going to get $50 million a year this year. Like, show me the great Justin Herbert playoff win.
He's not going to get a fully guaranteed contract. That's the point.
Okay, but then use Kyler Murray. Use Kyler Murray as an example.
He didn't get a fully guaranteed contract.
But Kyler Murray got $190 million of his contract guaranteed. $190. So is it fully guaranteed? No, but it's the second most guaranteed amount of any quarterback in the NFL at $190 million. For what? Why are we giving Kyler Murray $190 guaranteed? So
if your argument is that I need to guarantee money to Lamar Jackson because Deshaun Watson signed a contract and that looks stupid, and Kyler Murray signed a contract and that looks stupid, that doesn't make me want to guarantee more money.
No.
That makes me want to guarantee less money.
The argument on this is simple, because your other choice is to turn around and have Zach Wilson as your quarterback. Your other choice is to have Jameis Winston as your quarterback.
The Ravens
you
will
live in
take that.
Nashville. You live in Nashville. Are the homes in Nashville that are going for $600,000-$700,000 really worth it? Oh my God, no. And if you've lived in Nashville as long as I did for so long, the same houses that you could have bought for $150K years ago are now worth $700,000. Why? Because that's what the market bears. The reason that Lamar Jackson is worth what he's worth is because there are a dozen teams that need quarterbers across the NFL.
How is he worth that if nobody's willing to give it to him, Fitz?
But we don't know that yet. You're saying that after one day on the market. I'm not. This is a very simple core difference. Like, we don't know that he's not worth it because realistically he wants a fully guaranteed contract. By the way, 14 minutes into it, Atlanta said they're not interested. How the hell would they even know if they were interested if they never even did the due diligence to actually reach out, which tells me that that's all a lie. Until you've actually talked to Lamar, none of us even know what he wants. He has not told a single person in the media what he wants. So you're presuming he wants a fully guaranteed $231 million contract. For all we know, what if he wants a fully guaranteed $189 million? What if he wants one more dollar fully guaranteed than Kyler Murray? All of this yelling is about a bunch of conjecture when we don't know any of it. So all these teams that say they're out, two of the teams that said they're out, I talked to people around those teams last night, they're not out. So why would I believe any of these from any of these teams?
Well, it's your reporters that are reporting it at ESPN, Fitz. Jason Fitz is our guest. It's your reporters, your insiders. So are you saying your insiders are wrong?
I'm saying that at this point, different people get different information from different places, which you know. I mean, you know that. Like, we can make this a big, wild conspiracy theory, but find me the person around. Like, find me, and even with the report, for example, that my beloved Raiders are out on Lamar Jackson. And there are people around the organization that think they should be out on Lamar Jackson, certainly not because they're out on the contract, but because one person I talked to that I think knows the team pretty well last night said they think they need 16 new starters in the next 2 years. They have no problem paying the money, but why would you pay the money when it's going to take you 2 years and 16 new starters to even build up to where you can take advantage of it? So maybe that's a real point on it. But realistically, the report that the Raiders were out on Lamar Jackson came from a guy that covers the Raiders kind of meh, and it was looped into everything else. Like, we're hearing, and Kimberly Martin said this on Get Up this morning, we're hearing from reporters that are calling teams and saying, yin, yout. That's the best we can do. But realistically, does that mean anything? How often? We spent a year on every single radio show talking about the fact that the Cowboys were out on Dak because they didn't give him the mega deal. And what they do a year later, they gave him the damn mega deal. Like, we do this every time. I'm not going to buy any of it until we get to next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
So I believe the reason why they gave him the non-exclusive franchise tag is because they're fine with this idea of him signing a market value deal, because then they're going to match it. And instead of the having to go back and forth and everything else, every time I hear somebody, I heard RG3 complaining about how Daniel Jones got a deal. And if the Ravens could get the Daniel Jones deal for Lamar, they would have. If the Ravens could get the Dak Prescott deal for Lamar, I think they would have. I think my gut tells me that Lamar Jackson is going to go out there, find that there's no fully guaranteed deal, find that there's going to be a market deal. If Russell Wilson signed for 49, and that is the non-Aaron Rodgers market, and so then Lamar signs for 49.5 or whatever it may be with one of these teams, then the Ravens are going to match it if it's an in-line market deal. If one of these teams says, okay, we're going to guarantee you 4 years at $55 million per, then the Ravens are going to take their 2 first-round draft picks and move on. My point is, Lamar Jackson's going to get a market deal. He's going to get a deal like Kyler Murray did. He's going to get a deal like Jalen Hurts does. He's going to get a deal like all these other guys that's not fully guaranteed. And ultimately, if that's the case, if it's in line with what the market bears, the Ravens are going to match it, and that's it. And to me, it's not that complicated.
You're forgetting another wild element of this. If all he gets are market deal offers, then what says he has to sign the franchise tender? What says he has to deal with any of it? I mean, realistically.
So then he's going to walk away?
Yes, if there's any player in the NFL that I think would be capable of sitting on the sidelines for 10 weeks and then signing the franchise tag, going into one more year and then trying to get on the open market next year, force them to refranchise you, yeah. Well, what interest does Lamar have in signing in a place that has argued with him about his value for 2 years? If he doesn't get in a market, if he doesn't get a deal that money doesn't matter to Lamar Jackson. He's made $30 million in his career. Like, he's also made that pretty apparent in conversations. He's made enough money that he never has to work again. It might seem strange to us, but if you're Lamar, you're looking in the bank. You got $30 million in the bank. You do not ever have to work again. So now you know your value and you know what you actually need. Like, just because we look at monopoly money and say, well, you got to play for that, like, why does he? He never has to work another day in his life. So if he's had contentious arguments, as we know he has with the Ravens, if he thinks the Ravens have disrespected him, which he's also made pretty clear, and all he gets is a market value deal that he thinks the Ravens will match, he is far better off and I think more likely to sit back, not take that deal, whatever's been offered to him, say he won't sign the franchise tender, wait until week 10, show up and have a hamstring injury, and then sit his way out and make him franchise him again next year. Like, he does have power in this, and we're acting like he's absolutely powerless and he's just, the princess in the castle waiting for Mario. He's not.
That sounds so stupid, what you just laid out.
Why?
It sounds like Le'Veon Bell. Like, Le'Veon Bell sacrificed 31% of his career earnings because he thought he understood the market and the leverage with the Steelers.
So
And
I was
that's
sitting
what-
on a tour bus.
You're telling me that it doesn't matter if a quarterback who's made $25 million in his, over the last 2 years, you're telling me that it doesn't matter when Josh Allen, who I think when the time that Allen signed his deal was probably right at the same level as Lamar. Josh Allen has made $67 million in cash over the last 2 years. He will have made $97 million in cash after this year. Lamar, if he plays on that franchise tag, will have made 50. If he doesn't, at the same time that Josh Allen, if he does what you say, Lamar's going to end up making about $36 million over the same time that Josh Allen is going to make 97. That is so
But-
stupid, Fitz.
Yeah, it's stupid to you because you're working with different numbers. I sat on a tour bus not too long ago, last year, with an artist that has made a lot of money in his life. And he was looking at, and it's an artist that's had a good amount of success. And that artist is in line this year to make a ton of money. And sitting there with that artist made it very clear. If the single didn't do what he wanted or the label gave him any grief, he's just going to walk away. Why? Because you got enough money in your bank, you can just spend time at home with your friends and your family. Like, at some point, you're looking at Lamar, what he made versus Josh Allen. Let me ask you, man, if you had $32 million in the bank and you felt like you were being disrespected by 1025, you worried about coming into work the next day? Like, Lamar is, at this point, a very relatable human being with this. He's made it clear that he never thought growing up he would have this kind of money, and he has enough money to never work a day again in his life. And through this whole thing, he has been the epitome of know your worth. So if they don't want to give it to him, why would I presume that he would turn around and bend to the team just to make the team happy? At the very least, if he doesn't get the offer he wants, he signs the franchise, he forces them to franchise him again next year, he hits the open market just to say up yours to Baltimore. If I had that money in the bank, I'd do the same damn thing.
Yeah, I just don't know what the market value for a quarterback would be that, is basically punted 4 years in a row by the time that he gets out there.
Yeah, are you worried about it if you never have to work a day again? I will use this good example. My buddy JC that was in NSYNC, man, JC gets opportunities all the time to do all sorts of stuff. And people ask all the time, why was JC not in the Geico commercial with the other NSYNC guys? Why? Because he doesn't really care that much, and he has enough money to never work again in his life.
So you want me to go out there and sign a quarterback to a massive contract that doesn't care that much?
No, I'm saying that the quarterback, if all he's going to get is a market deal, then if he really wants to, he could just sit back and get that market deal a year later.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was Le'Veon Bell's approach, and that $14 million that he passed up, he never got that again.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I
who
hear what
cares?
you're saying. I just think it's ridiculous.
If you're Lamar, you're worried about the $14 million. If you're Lamar Jackson, you got $30 million in the bank, not including whatever you've made on your endorsement deals in your life. Like, you never have to work again. So if you have to leave money on the table so that you can know your worth and get what you want out of yourself, why would you not do that?
I mean, the principal argument that you're making, I get what you're saying, but ultimately, if Lamar Jackson's going to walk away from football because he feels like he's being disrespected because he's got $30 million and says, well, I have my $30 million, I'm good, That's fine. But at the same time, when he makes his $30 million, Kyler Murray will have doubled him at 60. And Kyler was drafted a year after him.
Who cares? Like, you're worried about what the next guy's making. Like, if you're Lamar.
He clearly cares about the money. Why doesn't he have an agent? Because he wants the money. Why hasn't he signed yet? Because he wants the money. That's what this is all about, his money.
The agent part of it has nothing to do with the money. Sam Acho this morning talked really – I thought it was really smart on Get Up about the agent portion of it. Like, there are plenty of players that look at it and say, why am I giving you a percentage to do basically nothing? Like, I don't need that. I can handle it myself. Like, there are reasons through all of this other than money. And in the Know Your Worth, the one thing we know about Lamar is that he has stood tall on I know my worth. Why is this going to be suddenly the time that he changes his mind about what he thinks his worth is? If the whole league tells him he's wrong, why is he suddenly going to turn around and tuck his tail between his legs? If he knows his worth, fight for your worth. Why not sign the franchise tag, wait 10 weeks to do it, sign it at the end of the year, and then see what somebody will give you next year? What's your loss? If you're already going to have to take less next year to play anywhere but Baltimore where you feel like you won't be disrespected.
Here is my one last rebuttal, and I've got about 20 seconds for this, Fitz, which is you say that he knows his worth. If nobody wants to pay him that, then is that his worth?
Yeah, to him it is. When you're independently wealthy, you don't care what anybody thinks of your value.
There you go. Jason Fitz, ESPN Radio. Fitz, great stuff. This is going to be our thing until this gets figured out.
We'll see how it plays out.
Jason Fitz, ESPN Radio, on the program, as always. Appreciate you, Fitz.
See you, buddy.
We got to react to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
If there's a game-changing pass rusher that the Titans can take with the 11th overall pick, do it. Add to that firepower on defense. This is a long-winded way of saying that in the past, there would be guys that you would like or you would say, if the Titans can just be there at 24 and they can take this guy and I'm telling you that at 11, given the circumstances, they don't need a running back, but they need pretty much everything else. Given the circumstances at 11, the Titans should be able to pick a day one starter at a position of need unless they choose to take a quarterback and sit the quarterback behind Tannehill. And that's a good spot to be in.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines. Like waterfront property, more like a mosquito farm. Pride of ownership, they're really proud of the DIY job they did. Seller says sell. Really? I thought they just put it on the market for fun. My team at TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says don't let this one pass you by, it's probably on wheels. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky, saving, looking for a sign of life, 'cause it's too cold for you here.
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz. A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds. They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them. To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Everyone at the combine I spoke to mentioned the issue with Lamar not having an agent is a big one.
Why?
Because an agent will go out there and ascertain who wants you and how much do they want you. They can do that work. So here's the thing. Lamar's looking at, let's say he wants 231 because Deshaun Watson got 230. Well, the Browns situation is not the same as the Ravens. The Browns have an owner in Jimmy Haslam who literally said, get me that guy. I want Deshaun Watson, come hell or high water. Well, we saw $230 million is what he got. If Lamar Jackson has an agent to go out there and say, is there another owner out there outside of Steve Bisciotti that wants my guy? Does he want to give? Is there another owner who is willing to give 230? And if not, that severely hampers Lamar's negotiating strategy in that sense. So I think that not having an agent has really been an issue because Lamar may have miscalculated the market out there for him.
So, by the way, I want to add into the list of ridiculous things that Fitz just said on our program that I watched TV today and Sam Acho said, what's the point of having an agent if I can do the same thing? I'm like, dude, you're looking at what the point of having an agent is. This whole Lamar crap show is all because Lamar thinks he's smarter than everybody else. But Fitz says if Lamar doesn't get the contract he wants, he's happy with the money he's got, he'll walk away, he'll be fine. That's fine. But again, I don't understand how it can be about the money, the contract. I'm disrespecting, you're not giving me enough money. And then it's, I don't care about money. I don't understand how that works. I don't get that. And I will keep bringing up Josh Allen. Again, Josh Allen and Lamar. At the time that Allen signed his extension, they were both drafted in 2018. They were roughly similar players. Lamar had been a league MVP. Allen had taken the Bills to an AFC Championship game. Allen probably a better thrower of the football. Josh Allen in the last 2 years has made $67 million. Lamar has made $24.5 million. That's not close. After this year, let's say that Lamar does what Fitz says he should do, which is sit out until week 10 and then play and collect roughly, what is it, like two-thirds of a salary? So Lamar will have made about $45 million. Josh Allen will have made $97 million. That's crazy talk. That's what having an agent, that's what doing it the way that everybody else does it, that's why you do it. Just crazy. Texter into the text line, and I agree with this, says Lamar has $30 million, not $130 million. Fitz is acting like Lamar is a billionaire. I mean, this idea of if I don't get what I'm worth, I am retiring. It's like, dude, what you're worth is what somebody's willing to pay you. That's your worth. And for this whole idea about, he's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with as far as the negotiation is concerned. He's going to want a lot of guaranteed money, clearly. And on top of it, apparently he doesn't care about competing enough to show up for his team's playoff game. And he's an injury risk because he's been hurt the last 2 years, and he's not that good. And yet all these teams are just going to knock down the door to sign him. I mean, sometimes I think this Lamar stuff has made people stupid. I mean, I really do. Like, dude, just sign the deal. You want to know why Kyler Murray didn't get a fully guaranteed contract? Because his deal was so good that he couldn't not sign it. That's why. This idea of Kyler Murray got $190 million. Lamar should. So that's a bad deal that got signed, and it's still a market deal. And now you're telling me that I have to pay Lamar more because of this bad decision that was made. The Deshaun contract was a bad deal. Somebody texted in and said, is it crazy to think that what happened to Deshaun could happen again? And I said, yes, because the guy who made the decision for Deshaun is crazy. And that was a crazy decision. So no, it's not going to happen. This idea of fully guaranteed contract just because Lamar says he's worth it, that's not how this works. Especially when you hear that Herbert and Burrow aren't going to ask for it. Lamar has one playoff win. Lamar's a good player. He's not a great player. The only way you could do this, in my opinion, I know what I'm worth and you better give me the fully guaranteed contract, is if Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes said, You can play me on the 5th-year option and you can tag me twice. But you're going to give me a fully guaranteed contract after that. And if you don't, then I'm going to go somewhere else that will. So you can give it to me now, or you can wait until after the tags, and then you can offer it to me then. But that's what's going to happen. And then, if you're Cincinnati, you look at it and say, boy, if Joe Burrow walks out of the door, we're going to go back to sucking like we did for the 30 years before we had Joe Burrow. And we're going to be in a spot where we're picking 29th because we have Joe Burrow. So we're not going to be able to go get another Joe Burrow. And then somebody else probably is going to pay Joe Burrow all that money because for the next 5 years, he's probably going to be worth it. But Lamar Jackson is not Joe Burrow. Jared versus Joe next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hiller, plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical. Those are my guys. I got Hiller coming out to the house next week because I need some electrical work done. That's what I love, is they're almost like a one-stop shop for me with a lot of home issues, and I love them, and they do a great job and take great care of me. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks. But there's actually big problems that can come from outdated, old vintage HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs, require more maintenance, and result in higher utility bills. Even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com and submit a picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
All the big plays. All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Because I love the sport.
We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360 and slams it home. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Birds Report.
Presented by Newton Nissan.
Monday was a great night for Predators rookie Luke Evangelista. Predators were trailing the Vancouver Canucks in the third period 3-1, needing to get at least a point out of that game. Well, Evangelista got his first career NHL goal, and then later on in the period, he tipped in a rebound of a shot from Tyson Barrie to tie the game at 3. The Canucks go on to win the game in a shootout 4-3, so the Predators still came away with 1 point. They traveled yesterday afternoon to Arizona, found their hotel in the middle of the afternoon. Later on today, they will be busing for practice in Tempe, Arizona, and prepare to play the Arizona Coyotes for the second time in a couple of weeks, coming up tomorrow night. Pre-game show on Thursday will come your way at 7, the game at 8 o'clock. This is Pete Weber on the Fifth Third Bank, Nashville Predators Radio Network.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find, luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now, you can get half off a $25 gift card to their new location in Antioch at theGameNashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, new location in Antioch at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at theGameNashville.com/deals.
Now, your Game Center update.
The NFL talk is still all about quarterback Lamar Jackson and his future contract. ESPN's Tim Hasselbeck joined Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace this afternoon and shared his thoughts on the situation.
I think that he'll be a Raven. I thought that the Ravens would apply the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar because what appears to be going on, at least to me, is that, look, Lamar wants, certain guarantees in his contract, at a level that probably resets the market. The Ravens are in a position where they're like, look, we're not going to do that. Like, we'll sign you to a starting quarterback deal and give you a bunch of money guaranteed and all that, but we're not going to reset the market, and have it be all fully guaranteed.
Round 1 of the SEC basketball tournament tips off tonight at Bridgestone Arena. Ole Miss will take on South Carolina at 6 with LSU versus Georgia to follow. Both the Vols and Vandy are in action on Thursday. Tennessee will play the winner of Ole Miss and South Carolina, and Vanderbilt will take on the winner of LSU and Georgia. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. Caroline is here for a little Jared versus Joe. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Joe is here with us, coming back from SEC basketball media, whatever. So it's good to have you with us. Joe, how are you?
Doing great.
All right, let's ring the bell.
Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexrode. Now on Stillman and Company.
On ESPN.
1025 The Game.
Jared versus Joe is presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Caroline, lead us off.
Michael Silver reported the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry. What would you have to get in return in order to trade Derrick Henry? Jared, you go first.
I would need a first-round pick. Now, I don't think, before you asked me what I would need a first-round pick. I cannot take less than a first-round pick for Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry essentially trading him is waving the white flag to my fan base that I am giving up on the 2023 season. So what I would need is value that at least I could tell my fans or argue is A, either worth giving up the 2023 season, or B, could allow me to replace Derrick for the 2023 season. And to me, that's a first-round pick. And I don't think there's a first-round pick out there for him. And I don't think any running back would go for a first-round pick in today's era. But that's what I believe Derrick Henry is probably, what he is worth to the Titans, which is what makes the whole idea of them shopping him very odd for me, because it's like, what did you think they were going to tell you Derrick Henry was worth? And what I think teams probably value Derrick Henry at would be embarrassing in a return for the best player on the team. But you asked me what it would take. It would take a first-round pick. And if it's not a first-round pick, I'm not interested.
I would take a second for him. I also don't think the Titans would get a second for him, but I would go to a second. I basically agree with what Jared said. You're punting on the season, and you're not going to get what some people think that you might get for Derrick Henry. But I don't agree with the curious nature of quote unquote shopping. I mean, we talked about this a lot on our show today. Shopping him, to me, when you use that term, that to me is saying we are trading this guy. What have you got? Let's go. Let's get these bids in. I think this probably was just trying to assess value, and that's what Rand Carthon should do. You should inquire on things like that, especially if you are considering punting on the season. I don't think they ultimately will punt on this season. I think Derrick Henry will ultimately play this season, but you do need to do that homework. So I don't think it's
what an
any
odd
big deal.
definition of shopping.
Okay, so your definition of shopping is just like, hey, what do you think this guy's worth? You're shopping him, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
if I am asking,
so I guess we'll go
if
with
I
that.
am asking other general managers what they would trade for me in a non-hypothetical sense, like if it wasn't just like hey, how many picks? I had a former general manager at the Super Bowl say to me, how many picks would you trade for Joe Burrow? How many first-round picks would you trade? And I was like, I don't know, 4. That's one thing. But if it is like, hey, would you have interest in Derrick Henry? Maybe for a 4, we'd have interest in Derrick Henry. That is shopping. And I think it was a rookie mistake. The reason why you don't do these things, and I don't know if it was Carthon or Vrabel that did it, but the reason why you don't do these things, now it won't be a problem with Derrick because Derrick understands the business of the NFL, and I don't think he cares if they were talking about trading him. But almost every other player, if it got out that team was talking about trading him, would feel disrespected and would be very angry. And so I don't know if it was Carthon or Vrabel that did that, but what that did by shopping, by assessing the value of that player, what it did was it allowed that general manager to use that piece of information to get information out of Mike Silver. And it didn't affect the general manager that used it. So Rand Carthon or Mike Vrabel got played, and they're lucky it's Derrick Henry and not somebody else, but it could have been an issue if it were somebody who would have been offended by that.
Okay. Sure.
I mean, you just think that the Titans should go ask everybody what everybody's worth and then have a running chart of this guy's worth that, and that's not how pro sports works.
Why not? I like it.
Because people get upset about it. People have egos. That's why David Poyle said last week that he was glad that at least going through this opportunity, he was able to get a value for everybody on the team except for Yossi and Soros. Because he knows that if he asks what a value for Yossi is, that it would offend Yossi, so he's not going to do it. Right. That's why you don't do those things.
Well, except that you should also consider punting, and you should also consider moving him. So it's not, value, I don't like the term shopping, but I do think it's a little more than just, just you and me talking. What would you say? I mean, I think that's homework that you should do right now because you have you're at a fork in the road right now, and you got to figure out which way you want to go.
How many teams that are picking in 11 or behind the Titans, how many teams are punting on next season?
I don't know.
None. The Browns aren't punting on next season. The Saints aren't punting on next season. The Patriots aren't punting on next season. The Dolphins aren't punting on next season. All these teams that are like in your range, they're not punting on next year because it's the NFL. Nobody does that.
Are the Bucks? The Bucks are talking up Kyle Trask. Are the Bucks punting on next season? Yeah, there's some teams that are punting on next season, buddy.
The Bucks don't have a starting quarterback. That's why.
Right. There are. Well,
you
exactly,
do.
There are some teams, Jared. Well, sure, but there are teams that are punting on next season because they're looking at. So, whether you like it or not, it is a viable option for the Titans. I know you think this is going to be a Super Bowl championship parade down Broadway with Tannehill and Henry next year, but there's
I think it's
a real
stupid to give
case
up.
to be made. Okay. Well, there's a case to be made to take a little bit of a step back to get better later.
Caroline?
Well, while we're on the topic of that, let's go ahead and get into that question. Joe, you go first. Are the Titans voluntarily heading for a rebuild? If they're shopping Derrick Henry, if they might be slow in free agency, not looking to spend a lot of money, are the Titans voluntarily tearing it all down to rebuild it?
Again, I don't think they are. I think ultimately they're going to, I think they're going to try to fix things. I think they're going to try to fix the offensive line, the receivers, and they're going to need to absolutely bolster the edge situation. They're going to need more depth at safety. They're going to need more depth at corner. To me, they're going to need to decide David Long Jr., but I think that they're going to try to take one more crack at it with this group next year. That's what I think we're going to see. I think, we're getting little inklings of, inquiries being made, again, which I think is what you should do. I don't think this was some rookie mistake or whatever, Ray Carthon. I think, it's worth finding out. But I agree. I do agree with this, what Jared said. I bet you that the feedback on what Henry would fetch was like, oh, well, never mind then. And I think that's part of this. Now, look, I'm also open to the idea. I think you just have to keep an open mind, and the quarterback domino situation obviously bears watching, and who knows where that might go. And whether someone might be so interested in Ryan Tannehill, they make an offer you can't refuse. But ultimately, I don't think the Titans are going that way. I think they're going to have this crew back and probably be about a 9 or 10 win team next year.
I think the Titans are going to run it back with Tannehill and Henry, but I do think their free agency spending is going to show us that they're probably not a team that thinks that they're in the mix to really compete. I talked to an agent who I don't think represents any players on the team, and I asked them, kind of their vibe at the combine, and the agent texted back, LOL, going to be a tough year for Titans fans. And basically that the Titans aren't planning to spend any money in free agency. And so you brought up all these, holes they have, and they need to re-sign Derek Long, and they need to David Long, and they need to do this, and they need to do that. And right now they're committed to $130 million. I think it's like $138 million in real money for this year. They started last season at $217. They ended last season at $230. And so you're looking at like, okay, so do they have $100 million in the coffers that they can spend on this season alone? They can get them back up to where they were last year, and I don't think they do. So, I mean, I don't know, like, if they're voluntarily headed to stink, because if they were doing that, then Malik would play quarterback. But at the same time, I don't think the Titans are putting the throttle down like they did, when they made the trade for Julio Jones, or like they did when they said last year this time that they were trying to re-sign AJ. Because if they were actually trying to re-sign AJ, that would have been a probably $60 million commitment as far as guaranteed money is concerned. And then they'd still have to pay Tannehill and pay Henry and all of that. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll put their money where their mouth is on Monday, but I don't get that feeling. I think that's going to be a lot of discount shopping. And I don't know if that is trying to head for contention, if that's the case.
Well, I think it's probably going to be some discount shopping too, but that's the thing is, look at their needs and look at the field. I mean, to me, discount shopping would just be probably the wise way to go at this point, because there isn't much
they're starting
out there.
left tackles and right tackles on the market.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you could criticize them if they don't want to drop the bag for Orlando Brown, but I mean, it's slim pickings, especially at receiver. I mean, to me, you've got to make a trade to realistically get a seasoned, number one receiver quality or even number two receiver quality guy when you look at the free agent market. So I think the bargain shopping, I mean, I don't think they're going to go nuts next week, but I think some of that is just a comment on what they're looking at.
So do you expect them to go sign one of the available free agent tackles, whether it's a right tackle or a left tackle? But, again, Orlando Brown, a Mike McGlinchey, a Jawan Taylor, one of those guys, or do you expect them to sign like they did last year when they signed Jamarco Jones?
The McGlinchey thing, if they think Petit Frere can play left tackle, I think is possible. But, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, they better hope, and again, he did play left tackle at Ohio State. They better hope that he's just a lot better on that side, and that last year was an example of a guy having to relearn everything and struggling with that, because based on his performance last year, I would not feel great about just flipping him over to the left side. But if they feel like that's his better side and that's his future, then maybe that. But I don't think they're going to go spend the money on Orlando Brown or even Taylor. I don't think so.
Okay, what about center? A Jason Kelsey, a Bradley Bozeman, or one of those guys? Or do you think they'll end up bringing in a Trey Turner?
I mean, what's Ben Jones doing? I don't know. I mean, right now they're in position with 11 to draft the next left tackle. If they stick there, then I think that lines up for them to get one of those two Big Ten guys. But as far as the interior, do they think Aaron Brewer can be a center? I think he's a better center than guard. Is he a starting center? I don't know. I mean, based on last year, I would say he's probably better as a reserve. But I mean, you're asking me questions that there are things that we don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think they'll go after a Jacoby Myers or an Alan Lazard?
I mean, God, I'm
going to tell you right now, the answer is no. They're not going after any of these guys. It's all going to be Kelvin Beachum, and it's going to be Marcus Cannon and Trey Turner and Richie James. That's what it's going to be. It's not going to be the high-end free agents.
But that's hilarious that you just mentioned those guys. You said it's not going to be these high-end guys. Yeah, Jacoby Myers and Alan Lazard. You just answered your own question. I mean, those are the high-end guys? Good. Give me the bargain aisle. Thank you.
Okay, well, Jacksonville had Christian Kirk, and we all thought that contract was stupid, and it is. But Christian Kirk did help them significantly last year.
Okay, he would be good.
So you're punting on those kind of players. The players that are good that help teams win.
Yeah, I mean, I need to see numbers, but Christian Kirk is better than those guys you mentioned. I mean, he got too big of a Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
No, that's fine.
More Jared versus Joe next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Electronic Express tax refund sale is extended. Get up to 50% off doorbusters and 40% off in every department, including 4K TVs, computers, gaming consoles, Bluetooth speakers, smartwatches, and more. Refresh your kitchen with appliances in stock and ready to deliver. And buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Barlines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Barlines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new hot dog burn ends. Nathan's all beef hot dogs smoked over pecan wood, tossed in honey sriracha barbecue, topped with a cool crema and crisp spring onions. One of my favorites.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Barlines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
When you hear it, you know the Steve Miller Band.
I'm a smoker.
April 30th, First Bank Amphitheater, Franklin, Tennessee. with special guest Mavis Staples. On sale Friday 10 a.m. at livenation.com. For more info and tour dates, visit SteveMillerBand.com, part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series.
For the love of the climb, for the love of the fall, for the love of knowing your kids' laughter is the sweetest music there is, for the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Jared Stillman versus Joe Rexroad. Now on Stillman and Company
On ESPN
102.5 The Game.
More Jared versus Joe, presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Caroline, go ahead.
All right, Jared, go ahead first. The Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on Lamar Jackson. Does Lamar Jackson deserve the fully guaranteed contract that he wants?
No. He doesn't deserve the fully guaranteed contract that he wants because there's a handful of reasons why not. Number one, he doesn't have the leverage for one. Number two, he ain't that good. He's a good player. He is not the kind of player that a franchise has to worry about. Oh my God, I have to give him whatever he wants. And Deshaun Watson's really not that good of a player either, but Cleveland was stupid enough to do it, and they're the dumbest team in the league, and that's an example of why they're the dumbest team in the league. But this is ridiculous. The only way I could see a player really demanding or being, worth the fully guaranteed contract would be if they either did what Kirk Cousins did, which was play on the two tags, and then find a team that thinks you are just the bee's knees where they are away from the Super Bowl and you get a guaranteed contract. But I think Lamar wants like a 5-year guaranteed contract, not the little 3-year deal Cousins did. The second one behind that would be if a guy like Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes, and I think they may be the only two guys capable of this, and Mahomes, that ship has already sailed. But if a guy like Burrow or Mahomes said, hey, I will not re-sign with this franchise long-term if you do not give me a fully guaranteed contract. So I will play on the 5th-year option, and I will play on the 2 tags, and then I'm gone. So you can either give it to me now or give it to me later. And then an organization like the Bengals that stink, that have stunk for 30 years, could say to themselves, okay, we can't afford to lose a Joe. That's it. And even then, I don't know if the Bengals would do that. Or if the Bengals would just say, you know what? It was a nice 7 years with Joe Burrow. We love you, but we're not rich at all, so we can't afford you anyways. So goodbye and enjoy wherever you go. And then I could see like a Joe Burrow getting a fully guaranteed deal because there would be so many suitors for him. But Lamar Jackson is a good, not great player who has 1 playoff win in his career, has played 12 games each of the last 2 seasons, and there are a lot of questions, I think, surrounding whether or not his style of play can work at the highest level, which is he wants the highest contract. So the highest level, can that style of play work? I still think there are a lot of questions surrounding it. I don't think Lamar Jackson can beat the AFC quarterbacks 3 weeks in a row in order to win the Super Bowl. So no, I'm not interested in that. I think it's ridiculous. And I think Lamar not having an agent and not having a reality check has significantly hurt him to the tune of Josh Allen having made $67 million over the last 2 years and Lamar Jackson having made 24. I think to me, it's a sign that Lamar has no clue what he's doing here, and he certainly is not going to get a fully guaranteed contract.
So I just want to make sure I had the question right, Caroline. So does he deserve basically an equal to or greater than Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed deal? Is that what you're asking?
Assuming that that's what Lamar Jackson wants, which is what has been reported what Lamar Jackson wants, yes.
Yeah. No, I I basically agree with everything Jared said, including on the agent. I think it's a big miscalculation on his part. I think it's just, in this situation in particular, this is where they actually do make their money, in situations like this. I think a little more of Lamar Jackson as a player than Jared does. I don't think he's just a good player. I think he could work in other systems, and I think he's just a cut below that very top shelf of quarterbacks. But still, if you're a cut below in any way, if there are any questions, and durability to me is probably the biggest question, then no, it's pretty simple.
And not only that, like the NFL, there's just like not guaranteeing contracts is a trump card that they have, and they're not going to give it away. And so it's like I laugh at this Atlanta thing. All these former players on TV. I mean, it's so shameful that ESPN put some of these former players on TV. And the way they talk about Lamar Jackson and how he's being done wrong and how all these teams should want him and how the NFL's colluding and all this kind of stuff. But the thing that drives me crazy is they all look at Atlanta and they're like, they were in on Deshaun Watson last year. Why are they not in on Lamar? I'm like, yeah, they were in on Deshaun. And then they were told it'll be a fully guaranteed contract. And then they said, no, we're not interested. So now they're going to reverse course. And not only that, when people use the Deshaun contract as an example, it drives me crazy because that's a terrible contract. And it's been nothing but a headache for Cleveland. So I think it's ridiculous. And I don't know if you heard Fitz, Joe, but he was completely unhinged earlier today in his defense of Lamar Jackson.
I heard a little of it, and I felt very dirty and ashamed of myself that I agreed more with you than him.
Oh, thank you. You mean you didn't agree with Fitz saying that Lamar Jackson should walk away from the NFL with having made $30 million if he doesn't get the exact contract he wants?
I mean, I'd be happy with that. I'd be right now rolling in the bills, the dollar bills.
But you wouldn't be happy with it if you could have $100 million.
No, I hear you. Like, I understand pushing this, but one, do it with an agent so you have a better idea. And he's going to cost himself.
Caroline?
On to the next. So when Jerry Stackhouse got a contract extension last year, I wondered to myself, why? What has Jerry Stackhouse done to deserve an extension? But to Jerry Stackhouse's credit, he did earn co-coach of the year in the SEC honors, along with Buzz Williams, also very deserving. So it has the co-coach of the year in the SEC honors validated Jerry Stackhouse's extension at Vandy. Vandy Joe, you go first.
Or GB Joe, depending on the day.
Today it is Vandy Joe.
Yeah, that's right. Well, first of all, we'll go back to the original. I mean, we've talked about that before. These college extensions, a lot of that really is it's not like they gave him some humongous raise or anything. I don't know exactly the numbers, but my understanding is it wasn't some like, oh my God, here you go, Jerry, you've done an incredible job. Look at this big reward. I mean, it's a recruiting thing. There has been noise around him, and my goodness, there was noise around him a month ago. I bet you we could find some good Jared sound bites from a few weeks ago on how bad Jerry Stackhouse is. But
we were not talking about college basketball a few weeks ago. That's your show that does that during football season, not ours.
Yeah. So I guess it's hard to answer this question because to me it wasn't some big deal anyway that he got this extension. But I think he's validated a lot of things this year. Look, I've been saying this all along, and I've been right and Jared's been wrong, but Jerry Stackhouse is a very good basketball coach. In particular, the X's and O's, they run good stuff, but more than that, he is a very good developer of talent. And that has been seen in many examples in his 4 years here. Now you're starting to see a payoff with wins and losses. Look, you still have to get to the NCAA tournament, and you still have to recruit better, and you have to handle the portal and all these things. So we're going to see where this goes. But I think Jerry Stackhouse, I mean, some of the stuff people were saying, and Jared right at the forefront, has been so stupid over the last few years. And I'm glad to see Jared eating crow, although I'm sure he isn't admitting how dumb his commentary was. He's probably just saying, oh, yeah, this is great, this is so fun to watch, and ignoring that he just said, I mean, some of the worst commentary I've ever heard from someone about a coaching job when there's no way you were ever actually watching his teams play.
So I was watching Jerry Stackhouse's teams play, and I have been watching Jerry Stackhouse's team play this season, and they are fun to watch. And they are not bad. I mean, they are good. If they make the NCAA tournament, and I think it's going to come down to Friday night against Kentucky. I think they're going to win against either Georgia or LSU tomorrow, and then I think it's coming down to Friday night against Kentucky. If they beat Kentucky, I think they make the tournament. If they don't, I think they don't get in. And here's my thought, though, to the question about validating Jerry Stackhouse. You got to make tournament. I mean, I know that Jerry Stackhouse can go on the midday show or the mid-morning show or whatever show it was last week and talk about how he hates the net rankings and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I do too. I hate all these, quad 3 victories. I don't care. Vandy's playing well, but you can't lose to Grambling State early in the season. Those games count. And so if they don't make the tournament, he will not have done as well as Kevin Stallings did. Stallings made it to a Sweet 16 in year 4. And so if we're going to sit here and say that not making the tournament in 4 years, the standard that Kevin Stallings couldn't even live up to, or Kevin Stallings could live up to, that's not good enough. And so Jerry, in my opinion, has a lot riding on this week. Now, he's done a good job this year. And you didn't hear me complain about him being named SEC co-coach of the year, but he's got a lot to prove this week, especially, and it's going to be hard. But he's still got to actually make the tournament. I am not going to get excited about a coach who doesn't ever make the NCAA tournament. I don't care that they got close to the NIT last year, and I'm not going to care that they get close to the bubble this year. Either you win or you don't, and this year they need to make it. And the other problem that bothers me about Joe talking about his development of players and things like that, I mean, that's great, but in college basketball, I have no idea who's going to be on the team next year. When I was younger, you could see, a team get hot at the end of the year like this Vandy team, and if they didn't have all seniors or NBA players, it's like, good. All these guys will come back. But with the way college basketball is, I mean, I didn't even know any of these players on Vandy's team last year. And so, I mean, look, I think this Vandy team is fun to watch. I do think it might actually be a kind of a special team, and I am rooting for them to get into the NCAA tournament. But no, Jerry Stackhouse is not validated until he at least makes the NCAA tournament. And then after he makes the NCAA tournament, he needs to make the NCAA tournament more regularly than he has. Joe just likes him because he'll pick up the phone when he calls. And so he's backed Jerry Stackhouse all along the way. So now that he's won a couple of games, there's no doubt in my mind that Joe is definitely riding the Jerry Stackhouse bandwagon.
Yeah, notice how often we've had him on our show. That's totally it's just a buddy situation there. So basically,
I don't know. I don't notice how often people have Jerry Stackhouse on the show. Has he not come on the show since you wrote that article about him?
Not one time.
Is he mad at you about that still?
I have no idea, Jared. But it sounds like you're a flip flopper who's hedging on your flip flop, which is really. That's quite a needle to thread, I must say. I mean,
how am I hedging on the flip flop?
Well, you're kind of flip flopping, but then you're like, but you're trying to hedge, but you're still kind of flip flopping. It's really fun to watch.
What's the hedge?
The hedge is you're totally, you won't admit that you were wrong, and you basically are.
Because I'm not. You have to make the NCAA tournament, Joe. I'm not asking him to make the Final Four. I'm not asking him to win the tournament. I'm not even asking him to win the SEC tournament. I'm saying that at some point you have to make the NCAA tournament to be validated as a basketball coach.
No one's arguing with you. No one is saying otherwise. It's just interesting. It's just interesting how your commentary has changed.
So why would I admit that my take is wrong when Jerry Stackhouse hasn't done what you have to do in order to be validated as a coach?
Again, like I said, you started to flip flop and then you stopped yourself. It was. I just enjoyed it. But hey, keep yelling.
Where was the flip flop? Caroline, help me out here. Where was the flip flop?
Stop it.
I'm trying to follow. If I'm being honest, I'm trying to figure it out for myself.
Well, no, he was in the midst of a flip flop, which is and really, I mean, I've heard you say some other things about Stackhouse, which I find amusing. So again. You're stopping yourself short of the flip-flop. You're hedging on, and again, no one's arguing with you that he has to make NCAA tournaments. I mean, I think anybody would agree with that with any college basketball coach. Your commentary on Stackhouse is of 3/4 flip-flop.
I don't think it is. I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay.
Ian, do you know what he's talking about?
Oh God, Ian is the one who gave you the win last year when I said that Stackhouse hasn't been doing an atrocious job, as you said. So we've all information, new information. That's fine.
So no, we're not following. Caroline, who wins this week?
Okay.
So in terms of shopping, I think whatever your interpretation of what that word is in the Michael Silver report that Derrick Henry is getting shopped, whatever your interpretation of that word, you're probably right. Is it as simple as what's the price for this player? Or is it as simple as, hey, like we're just kind of dipping our toes in the water of what the market could be? The answer is yes, it's all of those things. And with the rebuild, I mean, I feel like we're all kind of saying the same thing. Joe says, no, they're not rebuilding. Jared says, well, they're not putting the throttle down. Yeah, it's because they're not doing either. They're just staying put. They're probably going to run it back with Tannehill and Henry. They'll probably win, 8, 9, 10 games. They might win the division. They might make the playoffs. They might win a playoff game. I don't know. I think the Titans will be fine. I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders, but I don't think that you would even want them to try to be Super Bowl contenders. Because if the Titans went out and got Orlando Brown and Mike Evans, I can already hear Jared saying, what are you doing? Picking up expensive old pieces whenever you've got an aging quarterback. So no, I mean, I don't think that they're going for it and they're not tanking.
That wouldn't be what I would say, by the way. What I would say is, what
say?
about the cap, Joe?
That is true. You would say that.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Also, did you see the restructuring of Taysom Hill's contract today, Joe?
I did not, but I'm sure it totally proves that the cap doesn't exist.
I'll send it to you. To the point of Jerry Stackhouse, he had a successful season this year compared to what he has been doing at Vanderbilt, which was, he had the leading scorer in the SEC and you don't even make the NIT. This was a good season for Vanderbilt. This was a good season for Jerry Stackhouse. But I do have to say, you have to make the NCAA tournament. When you have wins on your schedule, like at Kentucky, Auburn, Tennessee, you got to turn that into something in the NCAA tournament. So while Jerry Stackhouse had a good year, he's had the best year, at least so far, that to my knowledge at Vanderbilt, it's still not enough to tell me that Jerry Stackhouse can get the job done at Vandy. So I have to say, Jared wins this week.
Yes!
I'm glad Jared won. He needed one badly, but I just said 4 times in a row he has to get to the NCAA tournament. I just want to point that out.
But I don't understand what you're saying, Joe.
What I'm saying was that you took it to the contract. So you asked the question about validating the contract. Yes. Again, I separated that out because these contract extensions for college coaches are, there's this huge deal was made out of this. He didn't get some huge raise out of this or something. It was a contract extension, but
it's all fine. Bad all the same. Thank you guys as always on this program here on Stillman and Company. And I keep looking for my flip-flop. I keep looking for my flip-flop. I don't know where it is.
You are a flip-flopper and you know it.
Speaking of Joe, he had a situation last week that we all mocked, and I do think the Titans might have considered something in regards to this, but it is now gone. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106 the game.
Thursday night.
Here's Jankowski for Mark Jankowski.
The Predators continue their road trip against the Arizona Coyotes. Pre-game at 7. Puck drop at 8 on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter. But it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
When you want to rock.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Do all the monsters come out at night? Why do we sleep when we want to?
Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan, consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years? The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
So last week, TD came on the Power Hour from the Combine, and he said that word on the street was the Titans' top target was C.J. Stroud, and that the Titans liked him. We've been hearing all about Bryce Young and about how much is he going to weigh, and then there was the talk about what's Anthony Richardson's workout going to be, but really, because there's not anything polarizing about C.J. Stroud, we hadn't really heard much about C.J. Stroud. And TD was like, yeah, the Titans like him the best. And I thought, okay, like, could they move up to 3 if they really like him that much? Could they move up to 3 with Arizona in order to get C.J. Stroud? You know, what if C.J. Stroud were to fall a couple of spots? Could they move up to Seattle at 5 in order to get C.J. Stroud if they like him that much? Then he put on the workout that he had. Now, all he did was throw, and I don't necessarily value the throwing at the combine where you're not facing a pass rush and the DB doesn't have anybody on, and the receiver doesn't have anybody on him. And yet, I mean, I value the 40 time way more than that or some other things. And yet, this was what Rick Spielman, former NFL general manager, said on Mad Dog Radio. His biggest takeaway from the combine was.
Quarterback that really stuck out to me, and I've always been a huge Bryce Young fan. I still think he is quarterback 1 in this draft, although he didn't do anything except get his height and his weight, which came in at over 200 pounds. But I thought C.J. Stroud had the best throwing quarterback position drill and throwing to those receivers that I've seen in a long time. I mean, he really stood out with his technique, his feet, and everything was in sync when he was doing a lot of the 3-5-step drops that they have him do. You've seen how he played in the Georgia game, where he is a good athlete, that he can make off-schedule type throws. But I thought he was the purest thrower down there, and I'm going to have him up there right now, moving him up a nudge right at Bryce Young category, and made him my 1B quarterback coming out of this weekend.
Well, it was nice while it lasted. There is no chance the Titans will be able to get C.J. Stroud. So even if he's their guy, it's not going to happen. 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025. The SEC basketball tournament is set to tip off in 15 minutes. We will be there tomorrow and Friday. Coming up next, my official SEC basketball takes. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman & Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hi guys, it's Mark. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction? Did you know that a major medical breakthrough is available and it isn't a pill? Today, Wednesday, March 8th, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. It's backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge. If you're ready to regain the spark in your bedroom, today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce rapid and powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is an unprecedented offer worth hundreds of dollars, but call today and qualify totally free. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today, Wednesday, 615-576-5000.
Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off, or get 18 months of no payments so the first payment is not until summer of 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Kid Rock. No Snowflake Summer Concert. Saturday, July 1st at Bridgestone Arena.
Sipping whiskey out the bottle.
The American Badass.
Singing Sweet Home Alabama.
Kid Rock.
Because I want to be a cowboy.
With Travis Tritt. On sale Friday, 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Kid Rock.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We will be live tomorrow and Friday from the SEC basketball tournament at Bridgestone Arena. Ian, I was thinking about this earlier today. Can you remember if we were at the basketball tournament last year?
I don't think so.
Was the basketball tournament here last year?
Was it in Birmingham? Was there a special? I don't know. It's not ringing a bell. It doesn't really stick to mind of us doing a whole bunch of stuff with the basketball tournament or broadcasting live or getting some type of, it doesn't really ring a bell.
And I don't remember being live at the basketball tournament, obviously in 2021 when all the COVID stuff was, still kind of fresh. So, and they played in a bubble and everything else. So we weren't there. So tomorrow, I assume, will be our first trip back to the SEC basketball tournament since the day in 2020. It was the Wednesday of the SEC basketball tournament in 2020. And we were doing the show, Jared and the GM, from 2 to 6. And then at 6 o'clock, we were going to have a special edition of Smashville Live.
It was in Tampa last year.
It was in Tampa. Okay.
Amalie
Arena.
Yeah.
That's why we weren't at the basketball tournament. And so in 2020, we were supposed to have a special edition of Smashville Live at 6 o'clock. It was supposed to be me, Sean Henry, and Greg Sankey, and it was going to be to raise money for the tornado victims 3 years ago. Then all of a sudden, in the middle of our show that day, the NCAA tournament announced that it would continue with the tournament, but with no fans because of COVID. And then it was announced that the NHL was discussing their parameters with fans because of COVID. And then the next day was when everything got shut down. And it got shut down sports-wise. Tennessee was warming up on the court at the basketball tournament, and it all got shut down. And it's crazy to think about, and not to say that I reminisce on stuff because you know that I do, But I was thinking about that today, about being at the basketball tournament tomorrow. And I remember because Rudy Gobert tested positive for COVID, and that was the beginning of everything in sports shutting down. And Vandy was playing, I believe, Arkansas at the time in the Wednesday night SEC basketball tournament. And it was like they were cheering because they knew that, like, this was the last sporting event for a long time. And I go back to that because that was the last Jared and the GM program at Bridgestone Arena. And then obviously, COVID happened, shut everything down, and then Floyd got sick. And so, it is what it is. But I was just thinking about tomorrow. It'll be the first time we're back at the SEC basketball tournament since then. All right. Time to get to my SEC basketball tournament takes. I'm going to go game by game, and I'm going to just tell you straight up if I have a take of that game, what it is. But the first game tonight tips off in 8 minutes. I'll take South Carolina over Ole Miss because I think Ole Miss did Kermit Davis wrong. Then we've got LSU, Georgia. I'll take Georgia because I think LSU sucks. Tomorrow, Mississippi State, Florida. I'll take Mississippi State. I watched them play on Saturday. They got that big guy in the middle. Florida sucks, and I think their coach is a bum. Tennessee versus Ole Miss. Tennessee wins. Moving on. Arkansas, Auburn. Arkansas. Vanderbilt versus Georgia. I'll take Vandy. I think Vandy's playing well, and I think Georgia kind of stinks. Mississippi State, Alabama. As much as I'm rooting against Alabama, I think Alabama wins that game. Tennessee, Missouri. I think Tennessee wins that game. Okay? That takes us to Arkansas versus A&M. I think Arkansas is going to win. My buddy's a huge A&M fan, and he says that there is no chance that A&M wins a game outside of College Station. So I'll take Arkansas, which takes us to Vandy, Kentucky on Friday night. If Vandy wins, they're in the tournament. They just went on the road to Rupp Arena and beat Kentucky without Liam Robbins. I think Kentucky squeaks it out. I think Vandy misses the tournament by a scotch. I do. And I hate it because I want them to make it. And I think they deserve to make it the way they're playing. But I think they got to get that second UK win. And I think they're going to lose. So again, I'm going to take Kentucky by a scotch. It's going to be a one possession down to the wire, kind of game at the end, but I think they're going to lose. That takes us to Alabama versus Tennessee. Give me Tennessee. I'm going to say Tennessee gets to the final. So I'll have them, and I've got Kentucky versus Arkansas, and Kentucky just beat the crap out of Arkansas, so give me that again. Tennessee and Kentucky in the final on ESPN noon on Sunday, and I'm going to go with Tennessee winning the SEC basketball tournament.
Wow.
Kentucky cannot beat them 3 times in a row. And Tennessee will win the SEC basketball tournament, and then they will turn around and get beat in the second round of the NCAA tournament because, well, that's just kind of what they do. Everybody enjoy the basketball. Everybody enjoy whatever else it is that you are doing. We will see you all tomorrow live from the SEC men's basketball tournament. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.